My mom wants to invite my ex whom I cheated on in my wedding, and my fiancé is absolutely furious. I 28M was a terrible person in past, which I have moved on from. Used to drink a lot and had cheated on my ex 27F countless times in our 3-year relationship, how she was stuck with me for so long. So one day, she found out I was cheating again and broke things up, which I don't blame her for. I was cut off by my family, which was heartbreaking. I eventually improved myself, got in therapy, and eventually apologized and reconciled with my family. I found out my mother and my ex were still in contact, which I didn't mind. They were close even when I was with her. My family invites my ex to family gatherings as her family is, let's say, not that good, which I again don't care. We both are civil and don't interact much. Eventually I met a new girl 28F, and 1 year later, I am engaged to her, yeah, and she knows how I was in the past as I had told her. We are planning wedding to host only close friends and family. Then problem arrives that my mother, who's close with my ex, wants to invite her to the wedding and my fiancé is absolutely furious, and the reason my mother's giving is that it's a family event. Honestly, I don't want her to be in my wedding too. I called her to talk about it and she told me the same damn thing. She doesn't want to be in my wedding, but my mother's insisting, which is infuriating. My mother is still saying she won't come if my ex isn't coming and my fiancé had arguments with her. I am seriously thinking of not inviting her ATP, but if she doesn't come, I am afraid that I might be cut off from my family again. This is so infuriating. Comments. Commenter 1. It's your wedding, not your mom's wedding. Tell your mom outright, she doesn't want to come, I don't want her to come, fiancé doesn't want her to come. Stop being weird about it and let it go. Do not invite her. It is a weird entitlement when parents dictate guest lists anyway. Unless they are paying, they get no say. If they are paying, you have the right to draw boundaries. Good luck. If your mom is that hung up on it, maybe you have to let her go too. Commenter 2. You realize your mother hasn't forgiven you, right? Update. Shit went down. TLDR. My mother wanted to invite my ex, whom I had cheated on, to my wedding. Update. Honestly, I got overwhelmed with the responses. Thank you everyone who replied. As most of you said, I grew a spine and talked to my mother with me and my fiancé sitting down. She wouldn't drop it, saying she doesn't like my fiancé. Well, my fiancé yelled at her. So she's not coming to my wedding anymore. I sent all wedding guests explaining the situation, that my mother wants to invite my ex to my wedding, and basically, most of them are in my side. Those who said I am ungrateful, let's just say they are uninvited and blocked. My brother 34M called me to say that I did the right thing, which was a relief. Going further, I would probably go low contact with my mother. My ex called me and my finance talked to her on speaker and she apologized and said she said no to my mother and won't drop it. I said okay, and OFC, she's not invited. My father said he's not coming too if his wife is not coming, which is like valid. So the wedding is actually small with 50 people, but the planned reception is huge with 150 people, which my father is throwing on my behalf. My mother will be there, so there might be drama. Edit. Should have added that my father and father-in-law both are throwing reception together. I will have security just in case in the wedding. Comments. Commenter 1. I'm glad you put your foot down. Since your father is hosting for the reception, are you sure he won't cancel it from being pressured by your mother? Do you have a backup plan just in case? Reply. Father said mother won't do anything stupid at reception and ex is not invited in reception. Commenter 2. So your dad's not going to go to his own son's wedding because his wife is a. But will go to the reception looking like a loser who didn't go to his own son's wedding. Got it. Reply. My brothers don't have close relation with dad. TBH, I am the favorite child who was spoiled rotten by him. That was the reason I was terrible in the past. Update. Mother and father aren't coming to reception too. So I had a talk with FIL and fiancé about the situation of all, and my FIL will alone cover the cost of reception. I offered some money to him but he refused, saying I am like his son, which made me tear up. And my father and FIL had a shouting match on phone about it, so father and mother aren't coming to reception anymore. Fiancé is happy and I am happy that our wedding and reception area going to be drama-free. We will definitely have security there, but it's gonna be hard explaining everyone what happened. Many people are gonna bail out of the wedding. I haven't talked to them since, and will probably contact father after wedding and reception are over. Last night, I am gonna be honest, I cried like a baby saying that my mother and father aren't gonna be there, but my fiancé comforted me. Probably the most amazing woman I met, can't wait to spend my life with her, and I failed my PhD exam LOL, results came few hours ago, gonna try afterwards IG. Going forward I am probably gonna be low contact with father and no contact with mother. Comments. Commenter 1. Man, life's throwing some wild curveballs at you. Keep your chin up. Remember, at the end of the day it's about you and your amazing fiancé. Wishing you both a drama-free and lovely day. Commenter 2. And don't contact your father after your wedding. Let him reach out to you. He chose not to attend. Reply. Okay. Commenter 3. OP, that advice is solid. Do not bow down to your parents. Do not reach out first. Let them come to you. And absolutely they are not allowed back in your lives until they give a heartfelt apology to your wife. That should be the first step. In fact, a phone call should go something like this. Update, I am married now and she's the most wonderful woman I could have gotten. 10 days later. TLDR, few weeks ago my mom wanted to invite my ex to the wedding whom I had cheated on years ago. She disrespected my fiancé, so I had uninvited her and my father had also refused to come. So yesterday I got married. It was the happiest day of my life, but yeah, it sucked not having my parents there whom I thought wouldn't go this much against me. They didn't even come to the reception too. It honestly cried after the reception, but my fiancé was understanding and comforted me. I couldn't have asked for a better half than her. My ex had sent a message of congratulations after wedding which I replied with thanks. After wedding I still haven't contacted my parents, but father had sent an air fryer as a wedding gift to my address, which is like an appliance, so gonna use it. Reception was awesome too, thanks to y'all for those wonderful comments supporting and suggesting me. I honestly thought I don't deserve all this due to how terrible I was in the past, but people can change. If you have done something wrong in past, don't let it define yourself, keep it in your mind and move on. You can change. Comments. Commenter 1. Good for you. Growth is uncomfortable and messy, but you pushed through it. You held firm on boundaries, owned your past, and chose love built on mutual respect. That's real redemption. And hey, enjoy that air fryer, it's petty peace in appliance form. Commenter 2. Well done on your self-awareness, admitting fault and consciously trying to be a better person. Unfortunately there will still be doubters and negative people. Ignore them and just keep making positive changes. I'm sorry about your family. I think even your ex saw it was inappropriate for her to attend. Your mom has lots of issues, and if she was truly a friend / cared for your ex, she wouldn't want her at your wedding. It would have created drama that your ex would have been in the spotlight / firing line. Your mom not attending your wedding is just a symptom of the bigger relationship issues. But not attending was the final nail. It was a time when she could witness you truly being happy. It's like she can't forgive you for something you did to someone else. She holding on to something that everyone else has moved on from. I guess this is her hill. She hasn't even given your wife a fair chance. Go for therapy and embrace your wife's family, they sound great. Congratulations. When you grow, learn and work on your character, you deserve to be happy. Good luck. Reply, yeah, she's a good person. I brought drama into ex's life. Glad she's moved on now and I am not there. I have a new half to focus on. Stories number 2. Aita for bringing up just how much I actually do for our household to my wife. My wife, 41F, and I, 42M, have been married for 15 years. I apparently surprised her by being capable of doing household chores and tasks, which I didn't think much of. My mom always asked me to help out with chores when I was a kid, so I didn't think it was beneath me or anything. I do think I inherited her need to clean excessively, like it's so bad that I can't eat until a mess is dealt with. My mom is an amazing cook, my aunt was a literal chef at a fancy hotel, and my dad loved having barbecues. It was pretty natural to learn from them and pick up a thing or two. The only thing I didn't pick up was how to make a decent cup of tea or coffee. I'm genuinely awful at it. It got to a point where I was handling most of the household chores and taking care of cooking, which I prefer anyways since she comes home exhausted. I've been asking our children, 11F and 9M, to do some minor tasks around the house and hopefully teach them this sort of thing too. She has a group of friends who hang out regularly. This time it was her turn to host the group at her home. I offered to take our children out for the day, and it was all set. Before we left, I had to finish up some things for work. The office space is practically on top of our living room, so I could hear what they were talking about the entire time. One of the friends asked how she always kept our house so spotless, and my wife just bragged about how she was responsible for it all. Then they all started talking about their gripes with their marriages. A common theme was how unhelpful their spouses were. I felt pretty uncomfortable, so I just left the office and went out with the kids. I came back after they had left for the night and acted as normal until we got to our bedroom. I asked her what was up with that conversation they had and pointed out that I did the cooking and cleaning in our marriage. She told me not to take it personally, and that she just wanted to fit in with the struggles of her friends. Now I just feel unappreciated, especially since I don't clearly remember any genuine gratitude for what I do from her. Since then, she's been pretty short with me. She says I'm weaponizing what I'm doing against her and holding it over her head. I don't expect her to compliment me each time I clean or defend me religiously, just a little. My husband is pretty helpful actually, he does his share, would be nice. I can't help but feel like her friends think I'm some sort of deadbeat who comes home to relax and neglect her. Update 1. I'm pretty shocked this post went as viral as it did, and I tried my best to speak to my wife yesterday. I just can't believe that this is the woman I married. I tried speaking with her, telling her that what she did wasn't that big of a deal but was still not a nice thing to do. She didn't like me bringing it up again and just told me to suck it up and stop bitching about one mistake. She apologized, but in a tone that just sounded like she was just tired of dealing with this. I noticed her getting very heated and on the verge of starting an argument, so I backed off and switched to a different topic. I asked if we could adjust our duties at home to be more fair for both of us, since most of our management fell to me. I mean pretty much 90% of things like cooking/cleaning, including planning for our date nights or vacations for our family, rely on me. I do think it's an issue that she gets to come home and just tell me that she's tired. Then she got up in my face, telling me I had no right to lecture her about chore duties when I'm practically at home most of the time. She completely refused to hear me out and basically told me that what we have works best for our situation. She threw me in my face that she was the moneymaker and that balanced everything out in the end. Even this morning she was pretty annoyed with me, coming downstairs in a bad mood. I'm very sure our kids noticed it too, but I drove them to school after they got ready. When I got back I noticed that my wife left her packed lunch on our kitchen counter. So now I'm sitting here, just feeling like the woman I've known for 15 years hates me. I guess I'll have to push this issue properly even if she gets angry. She's been ignoring my texts and attempts to call her. I can't just let her act like this, especially in front of our children. Update 2. I think I'm just done at this point. I did something I never did before and went into her phone while she slept. We both know each other's passwords, so it wasn't really difficult. Some of the cheating comments got to me and I felt pretty paranoid about this situation. Instead I found a group chat with some of her work friends, different from the other friends she had over. It was just non-stop mockery of me and some of the stuff I did for her. She told them how embarrassed she feels to be with me and that I dote on her like a parent and don't feel like her husband. The lunches I pack for her are humiliating, because I add sweets and other treats I know she likes. Some of her coworkers teased her about the snacks I have in for her and she admitted to just throwing them out at work. She doesn't have any issue eating them at home, but at work she throws out my baking. She had some choice words to say about me in her chat, some of which I don't have the courage to type out here. One of her meme pictures was of me on my knees scrubbing a bathroom tile, edited to have some sort of dress on like I was some sort of housewife from the 1960s or something. I just closed her phone and left the bedroom. I confronted her about the chat in the morning and the contents of it, which got her panicking. I focused on our kids this morning and left her to her own devices. It's not like she would have appreciated a kid's lunch anyways. Now she's texting me like crazy at the office, but I think I lost all respect for her and what she's become. Not only does she find me overbearing and embarrassing as a husband, but then I find out she mocks me to her friends and exposes some sensitive relationship issues to her group chat. This will probably be the last update, since I don't think she can come back from this. We just celebrated our 15th anniversary last month too. I feel like a loser now after seeing what my wife actually thinks of me. Added comments. Commenter 1. Are you a stay-at-home father? Reply. We both work. She makes about $100K a year while I make around $70K. She earns more, but she's definitely not the only income in our household. What makes my job great is that my boss lets me have a lot of flexibility, so I can work from home and take care of the house and kids as long as I give him a heads up. Final update. Aita for bringing up just how much I do for our household to my wife. I know I'm going to get some hate for my decision at the end of this all, but I gave my wife one more chance. She gave me a real apology for her actions and how she treated me about 2 weeks ago. In her own words, she let her friends' comments at work and her best friends affect her too much. My wife wanted to feel included in the groups by playing both sides, one that has a useless husband and one that has a clingy husband. She's not using them as an excuse and did take full responsibility for how poorly she treated me, which is a plus. She suggested some sort of marriage counseling for us and insisted on doing the planning herself to show me she's dead serious on wanting to make this work. She's copied me in her communications with a counselor, but it'll still be a while before our first appointment. She's stepped up in the home too, doing more tasks without me asking. The compliments I used to get have also made a return, so I do feel a little more appreciated. My wife promised me that she wouldn't lie to her friend group anymore and give me the credit I deserve. The work friends I don't know about, their opinions on me will forever be as they are even though she talked to them. Part of this feels disingenuous, since it took us getting into a bad spot for this to happen. Maybe it's just resentment talking. I just hope this works out for our sake and the kids. And no, she has not been cheating or had some guy in her ear telling her things. A lot of DMs are asking about that. Update. In short, my wife and I went through our first marriage counseling session. At first it was extremely awkward having to talk about our problems to someone outside our marriage. A bit silly considering I'm here doing it on Reddit, but in person with zero anonymity is something else. I won't say everything that we discussed, but my wife ended up sharing her thought processes on how things escalated this far. Years of her having me do most of the things in our home had left her complacent, so she took me for granted. Our marriage counselor suggested that both of us find some individual therapy, her for her tendency to try and fit in everywhere. Mine for trying to take on everything without wanting to ask for any help. We both like our counselor, so we'll be visiting her again for another appointment. That's something we're still working on, but for now we've been taking things a bit more evenly in regards to everything in our relationship. Chores are split at around 70 to 30 and we're planning a cooking schedule that's fair for both of us. What I'm really happy about is her taking the initiative with our dates again. Now it doesn't feel like a one-sided effort. I can't wait for her to be the one leading the romance. She's also set the record straight with her group of friends, so I'm not a useless husband to them. That was also pretty awkward, but no one reacted in a dramatic way. The only issues are her work friends. She's on the lookout for a better job. Not for pay but just looking for a less unhealthy work environment. I just wanted to thank you for the support and advice I've gotten from you all. I have a good feeling that we can make it through this. Stories number 3. Aita for telling my mom and her husband I don't give a shit if their kid dies. My mom and dad got divorced when I was 5. It was good, they are terrible together. All I remember from back then is them fighting constantly. My mom got primary custody of me and my dad got me on weekends and some holidays. It was better for a couple of years until my mom met Dale. He isn't a bad person, he just wasn't interested in being a stepdad. They got married when I was 9. Then they needed to move for Dale's job. My mom left me with my dad and said she would be back for me when they got settled. My dad and grandma agreed to take care of me full time until then. They apparently have settling to do still because I turned 17 in May and she hasn't come back for me yet. She did however have a kid with Dale. I've never met him. My half-brother is sick and needs something from me. My mother and his father aren't a match but I might be. My mom contacted me to ask me to get tested to see if I'm a match. My dad said it was up to me. I said no. I have an athletic scholarship to college in the fall. If I do this, donate, not test, I won't be able to participate in the sport I was recruited to play. Which will mean my scholarship goes away. My mom begged. I thought about it. I know I have no shot at being a professional athlete. I'm good but not great. I can play divey. I sports but I won't get paid to play. I came up with a compromise I thought would be good. I offered to get tested and if I was a match I would donate, if my mom and Dale agreed to pay my tuition for my degree. I thought it was win/win. If I donate the kid has a chance to live, I can concentrate on school instead of sports, and my dad gets a break after years of doing everything. They said no. They said I should do it with no conditions. I said fuck no then. They accused me of being heartless. I said that just because she didn't give a shit about me and my future doesn't mean I don't. She said my brother will die without me. And here is where I might be the asshole. I literally said that it made no difference to me if your kid lived or died. That I didn't give a shit. My dad is staying out of it and my grandma is on my corner. In fact, all of my dad's family says it's my decision. My mom's family thinks I'm being an asshole for what I said. I've been blocking them all as I get the chance. Am I the asshole? Stories number 4. My friend wants me to remove my piercings for her engagement party wedding photos. I'm worried that I may be overreacting in this situation. I would be okay with removing the piercings if I knew that I would be able to get them back in afterwards, which I'm worried is a selfish mindset to have when my friend is getting married, but honestly how quickly she's willing to replace me just hurts a lot. Text messages. Hi. Weird question, but are you able to remove your piercings? Or do they kinda have to stay in? Like, am I able to remove them at all? I mean, would you be able to take them out for a few hours and then put them back in when you get home? Well, for some of them I can take them out for however long and then just put them back in. TBH, I'm not too sure because I never really take my piercings out anyways, but I took my nose ring out once for a few hours and I wasn't able to put it back in myself, but the piercings in my lobes I can pretty much leave out for however long. What about the other piercings in your ears? Sorry, I'm not sure what their names are. Well, the industrial piercing, the bar thingy, I can't really take out at all because it's pretty fresh, and all the other ones I'm really not sure. I've never had any of them out for an extended period really. If you could find out, I'd appreciate that. The reason I'm asking is because of the engagement party. I'm just not really into the idea of someone being in my pictures if they've got a lot of piercings, so I was just curious if you could take them out for the few hours the party's on and then put them back in once you're home. Is it just the ones in my face you want me to take out? The piercings closing really depends on the person. I think some people's close really fast and others don't, but I remember my nose piercing closed up pretty fast and I think the lip piercing would close pretty fast too. Is it just the ones in my face you want me to take out? I'd prefer if you took out all of them because we are planning on doing some pictures to the side as well, so that means your ears would be visible. I mean, if you want to just leave your lobes and that's okay, but all the other ones you have going up your ear and especially the bar I wouldn't want in the photos. I'll look online and see if I'd be able to take them out for the pictures. How long will taking the pictures take? Because maybe the piercings coming out would be fine. Well, it's kind of going to be an all-day thing. That's why I asked if you can take them out for a few hours. Oh, okay, I understand. It's nothing against you, just to clarify, I just don't want someone with a lot of piercings in my pictures because I feel like it might ruin the aesthetic I'm going for. If I'm not able to take them out, what will happen then? Is getting them pierced again an option? If you're not able to get the piercings back in, it is an option. It would just cost a lot of money getting my piercings done again, lol. Can you afford it? I probably can. I would just rather not have to get all of my piercings done again, but again they might not even close. I might be able to take them out and have no problems, but I really think it depends on the person. Do you not research these piercings before you get them? If you could find out, I'd appreciate it because I really don't want to exclude you from the photos. What do you mean? If you can't take the piercings out, then I'm going to have to leave you out of the photos and I'll probably have to replace you as a bridesmaid because I was assuming you'd be able to take them out when I made you a bridesmaid and I really just don't want that stuff in my pictures. Well, I'll definitely find out. I don't want to ruin your pictures or anything. I know that. I was hoping you would just be willing to remove them. I didn't think getting them pierced again or whatever would be something you'd be unwilling to do. That's just a very expensive thing to ask me to do. I don't want to make it seem like my piercings are more important than your wedding or anything, lol. Then I'm not understanding why you can't just take them out. Your friend is getting married. This is a once-in-a-lifetime thing and now it's being made difficult because you're refusing to take out some jewelry. I never said I refused to take them out. I just said I'd need to find out like roughly how long I can keep them out for. Why does it matter? I'm getting married. I wouldn't have made you a bridesmaid if I thought this was going to be a big deal. I'd sincerely appreciate it if you could find a way around this whole piercing thing. Once again, nothing to do with you. I just don't want that aesthetic in my photos. I just feel like it's not a very fair thing to expect of someone. These piercings cost money. They were very expensive. Telling me to just them done again isn't very helpful. It's your wedding and I want you to be happy, but your attitude towards this hasn't felt great. If you want me to be happy, then you'll find a way around it. Going to be a big deal. I'd sincerely appreciate it if you could find a way around this whole piercing thing. Once again, nothing to do with you. I just don't want that aesthetic in my photos. I just feel like it's not a very fair thing to expect of someone. If these piercings cost money, they were very expensive. Telling me to just them done again isn't very helpful. It's your wedding and I want you to be happy, but your attitude towards this hasn't felt great. You want me to be happy, then you'll find a way around it. Let me know soon in case I need to find a replacement for you. Comments. Commenter 1. As someone who has tattoos and piercings, she absolutely has no clue what's involved with having them. They're expensive and painful to redo and you have to go through the entire healing process again. For a few hours so she can get some pics. I had my nose ring in for years and it closed up after an hour. Same with my septum. I've had to have both redone due to jobs making me take them out. I refuse to accept a job that requires that again. Fuck her. You're NTAH here. She is threatening to exclude you because you don't fit her aesthetic, is just giving Bridezilla spoiled brat to me. I wouldn't even attend a wedding where either party had that attitude toward people they consider friends. Commenter 2. When the friend asked, did you not do any research on these before you got them? I got so irritated, lol. I would have said, if you knew you were gonna get married and might want an aesthetic, why didn't you choose your friends more carefully? Then block. For real, that's bizarro Bridezilla territory. Just re-pierce them. My industrial alone was like $300, and I babied it for a year for it to finally heal up properly. It's not just the money, it's the time and effort it takes to avoid infection and keloids, because that's your aesthetic. Commenter 3. Hey. Former wedding planner here, giving a +1 the Bridezilla assessment. OP, this is a totally unreasonable request, and the fact that she is already being this unreasonable before the engagement party. Just know. It's not even about the piercings, it's about the, my wedding is more important than anything and it's your job to meet my every whim mindset. Big yike. I highly encourage you to use this opportunity to bow out of the bridesmaid position, because an attitude like this does not get better as the wedding planning process progresses, it gets so much worse. Save yourself from the heaping pile of drama this girl is cooking. Girls like this get straight up nasty as the day approaches, and that entire bridal party will be at each other's throats before long. Run girl. Commenter 4. This is golden advice right here. If she's willing to dump you over piercings, imagine what she'll do when the real wedding stress hits. A good friend would find a way to make it work, not issue ultimatums. Commenter 5. A good friend wouldn't give a damn about piercings in the first place. And same as above, I lost my nose ring and it closed super fast, then I had to wait about 2 months for it to completely heal over before I could get it pierced again. And don't even get me started on the industrial, that one's AB. Had to have it done thrice because I have small ears and there were problems from the start. Now I have a chain instead of a barbell. I wasn't willing to let it go because it looks pretty to me. But yeah, waiting months before you can pierce again plus the money, $300 seriously? I paid around €60. Still expensive for me though. Just for some pictures and aesthetic. Yeah, no, asterisk. Commenter 6. Do any of the other bridesmaids have piercings? Has she asked them to remove them? Or tattoos has she asked them to cover up? You need to know if she's just being funny with you. It's not like you can't style your hair to cover ear piercings. The entitlement is wild. Why ask right before not when she was asking you? Honestly, I'd just say you don't want to be a bridesmaid anymore. Save yourself the headache. Reply, she was originally going to make her sister a bridesmaid but then decided against it because her sister has a lot of tattoos on her arms. I don't think it's anything to do with me personally, she just doesn't like that type of style. As for the other bridesmaids, the only piercings they have as far as I know are their earlobes. One of them also has a nose stud, but I'm not sure what she's doing to do about that. Commenter 7. So I'ma be real with you. As an alt woman with tattoos, piercings, and who goes through periods of coloring my hair vivid colors, I was the MOH for an ex-best friend of many years. Like we were friends 19 years, and her wedding is something that should have been a red flag in our friendship, but hindsight is 2020. She asked me to postpone a tattoo on my arm for her wedding so it wouldn't be in photographs. Fine. She asked me to dye my teal hair blonde for the wedding. She wanted all natural hair colors for wedding so that she would stand out. I had had teal hair for 2 years. It cost me $400 to get that color correction for a single day because I didn't want to stay blonde. I was platinum blonde so I could dye my hair back literally the next day. All this to say, a friend loves and accepts you for who you are. An aesthetic should not matter more. Your friend should never have even asked you such a question. And if she cares so much about her wedding aesthetic versus having the people she loves in her wedding, she never should have asked you to be in her party. Do not even research this. Tell her no. If she gets upset and removes you, fine. But remember this for how she views you as a friend and her relationships. It's on a weak and shallow foundation. Edit to add, since this has been asked a number of times. Why I didn't wear a wig. I didn't have a lot of time when she made the request. Like 2 weeks. I lived out of state and my ex-best friend was and is a very picky person. Not any wig would be satisfactory. I would need to purchase like a handful to try out and hope she likes one and return the rest. Which is a lot of time and money on such a crunch when I also needed to travel 3 days before the wedding. She is a woman who had her entire wedding paid for and always got exactly what she wanted kind of person. It ended up just being easier to find a salon that could get me in for this appointment. Commenter 8. Yes. I was a bridesmaid in a wedding earlier this year, also tattooed/pierced/fashion shade hair, and I asked the bride if she wanted me to change my hair but only to another fashion shade. My usual hair appointment timing would coincide with prepping for the wedding anyway, so regardless I was going to be spending money getting my hair done, but only to another fashion shade. I wasn't going to color correct to a natural color as the process to go back to fashion shades would be a nightmare and expensive, naturally dark brown hair. My body jewelry is all high-end, rose gold with semi-precious gemstones, and she didn't care. I offered to swap out jewelry from my own collection, not buy new jewelry, they look cohesive and neutral anyway, and she also didn't care about my hair. I added a bit of Pulp Riot Nightfall to my usual green formula to darken it a bit to go with the theme of the wedding and glam it up a bit, and did very classic hair/makeup. But she also said that she wanted me there, and while she did care a lot about the aesthetic of the wedding, she loved all her bridesmaids, which is why she made us bridesmaids. She thought it contradictory to ask them to change who they are just to fit her aesthetic. Update. Hello everyone. Hopefully people can find this update because I'm not really sure how this app works. TBH, I just wanted to say that the post got a lot more comments than I was expecting, and I tried to read through/reply to a lot of them, but it was very difficult. I still really appreciate the kind words though. This entire interaction was a lot more aggressive than I was expecting it to be, on my part and on her part, because I'm usually not a confrontational person, so this was just a lot for me. But long story short, I'm not going to the wedding. This is a definite end to our friendship, but I ultimately do feel like it was something that needed to happen, as I can now acknowledge that she was basically treating me like a doormat. LOL. The name blurred out in the last screenshot is my boyfriend's name, as I wanted to keep those details private. Due to this new development, I'm thinking of going out and getting myself a new piercing. Once again thank you, because there's been an overwhelming amount of support from most people and I was not expecting this to turn into as big a deal as it did. Thank you a lot. Text messages. Hey, just letting you know I won't be going to the engagement party or the wedding. You can find a replacement for me. I really hope you're joking with me, because what the fuck, are you being serious? Yeah, I am. We aren't going to find an option we're both happy with, so I feel like you finding a new bridesmaid is just the easier way to do it. I'm really not willing to take my piercings out. You don't want someone with piercings in your photos. Just keep me out of the entire thing. I'm very sorry that I thought my friend wouldn't have a problem removing piercings for my wedding. Do you not realize how insane you're acting? You're going to drop out of my wedding because I asked you to remove some jewelry. Are you well? I'm extremely well. You're going to drop out of my wedding because I asked you to remove some jewelry. You're missing my entire point with this. I have 15 piercings. Do you have any idea how much money it would cost to get all of them pierced again? Unless you're going to offer to pay me for the damage, they aren't coming out, and quite frankly even if you did offer to pay, the answer would still be no. I could get scarring, infections, and it's just extremely painful getting piercings done again. This is just something I'm not willing to do. Find a replacement. You clearly aren't, because you're acting like a psychotic bitch. I'm extremely well. Since Jen, did piercings hold more value over one of your friends? Are you seriously that materialistic? I only made you a bridesmaid because I felt bad for you anyway. I'm glad you've shown me what a selfish bitch you are now, because I can't even imagine having someone like you at my wedding. Unless you're going to offer to pay me for the damage, they aren't coming out. I have a wedding to pay for and you want me to reimburse you for your shitty life decisions. You choose to get the piercings. How you afford to get them back and doesn't concern me, doll. I only made you a bridesmaid because I felt bad for you anyway. You don't have to start insulting me just because someone has said no to you for once in your life. Emeo, I quite honestly could not give a single fuck if you feel bad for me. TBH, don't start calling me shit just because you're on an ego trip. Genuinely fix whatever the fuck's wrong with you, because you're going to drive away every single person in your life eventually if you keep acting this way. I've explained myself over and over again, and if you're choosing to not understand where I'm coming from, there's nothing I can do about it. You're too self-absorbed to even fathom something that doesn't affect you directly. You have the audacity to call me self-absorbed when you aren't showing up to my wedding because I asked you to take out a few piercings. You're a selfish bitch, and you know you are actually laughable. Don't want or need someone like you at my wedding, and since you're not coming, tell D and he's uninvited too, ruining the occasion for your boyfriend as well because you're a selfish little girl. Eve explained myself over and over again, and if you're choosing to not understand where I'm coming from, there's nothing I can do about it. You're too self-absorbed to even fathom something that doesn't affect you directly. You have the audacity to call me self-absorbed when you aren't showing up to my wedding because I asked you to take out a few piercings. You're a selfish bitch, and you know you are actually laughable. Don't want or need someone like you at my wedding, and since you're not coming, tell and he's uninvited too, ruining the occasion for your boyfriend as well because you're a selfish little girl. Comments. Commenter 1. Good for you. Very curious about your boyfriend though. Was he playing some type of role in the wedding? Or was he just your guest? Bride, uninviting him if he was coming as your +1 is rather bizarre, because why else would he go if you weren't? Sounds like it's not a great loss on your end. OP. Reply. I was bringing him as my +1, he didn't have any role in the wedding. He wouldn't really know anyone there except for maybe 2 or 3 people. Commenter 2. The way I'd be posting these on Facebook, Instagram, tagging her fiancé and her family, like your first post. Already baffling on her end. This one. Whatever she's smoking. I think we should all avoid. Good riddance. What piercing are you thinking next? That's exciting. Reply. TBH, I just want her away from me and I'll be happy. Weary face. I was thinking of getting my other tragus done. Out of all the piercings I had the most pleasant healing experience with the tragus. LOL. I don't want anything that's super demanding since I'm already dealing with the healing process of my industrial. Commenter 3. What all do you have pierced? Feel free to leave out intimate ones, I'm just curious. I have 11 tattoos and 16 piercings. You can come to my wedding. I mean, it already happened, but I could move on for you so you could go. LOL. Reply. Here's all the piercings I have. LOL. I appreciate the invite to your wedding. Triple lobe piercing on both ears. Industrial piercing in one ear. Daith in both ears. Helix in both ears. Tragus in one ear. Rook in both ears. Anti-tragus in one ear. Double nose piercing. Lip piercing. Commenter 4. Okay, but now I want to see how you've managed to fit a rook, daith, and industrial on your ear. Commenter 5. My wedding, my wedding, my wedding. Don't you know the earth revolves around her wedding and you should alter your life around it? My favorite was, since when did piercings hold more value over one of your friends? Are you seriously that materialistic? Says the one who was going to exclude you from pictures because of your piercings aesthetic. I would say sorry you lost a friend, but you didn't. Stories number 5. AITA for not going to my twin's wedding. I, 24M, have an identical twin. We're not close, but I thought we had basic mutual respect. That belief was tested. I grew up in a traditional southern town and only began coming out in college, about 5 years ago. It's been slow, especially with family. But since moving to DC in 23 for school/work, I've felt more comfortable living authentically. After moving, I met my boyfriend, 26M, and we've been together 2 years. Over time, I've introduced him to friends and family when I felt safe. Cut to November 24th. I was home for the holidays and told my twin and his fiancée about my boyfriend. They seemed happy for me. While staying with them, wedding details arose, and they asked if I'd be bringing a date. I said yes, my boyfriend. My twin had gone to bed, but his fiancée said, while there are pros and cons, it's up to you if you want to bring him. That felt like a green light. My twin constantly deferred to her on decisions, so I didn't think I needed to double-check. 5 months passed, my BF and I had spent $1,300 on travel, flights, hotel, etc. 3 weeks before the wedding, I mentioned on a call with my brother that we were all set. His tone shifted. Oh, is BF actually coming? I reminded him of the convo with his fiancée. He said she never gave me permission and accused me of making it up. Then said, "We can't allow your BF to come. We worry how dad's side will react." I offered to call dad on the spot. He dodged, saying he'd check with his fiancée, despite just saying it was his decision. An hour later, no change. I was still invited alone, still expected to buy a groomsman match suiting, even though I wasn't in the party, and show up smiling. That's when I snapped. I asked, "If I didn't invite your fiancé to my wedding, would you still come?" He couldn't answer and ended the call after some harsh words. Trying to make things right, I came out to my dad, which I feared for years, to explain the situation. He was surprisingly indifferent and even said uninviting my BF was extreme. He offered to talk to extended family. I thought I was removing the main obstacle. Weeks later, my twin called again. He now claimed our friends would be weirder out, so the excuse shifted. I said, "If my BF's not invited, I'm not coming." He didn't budge. Here's the kicker, days later, my dad told me the fiancée admitted she did give me permission but changed her mind when she remembered who would be there. She denied this to my twin. Also, one of her bridesmaids is openly gay and brought her GF, but, according to the fiancé, she's not part of the family, so it's different. So I didn't go. I'm still wondering if I made the wrong call. My absence was noticed. I got texts asking where I was. My mom had to explain it repeatedly. So instead of avoiding attention, my absence became the story. My relationship with my twin is dead, and some family ties now feel fragile. Part of me wonders, should I have sucked it up and gone solo, just to preserve bonds that shaped my early life? So, Aita for skipping the wedding. Stories number 6. Aita for telling my mom that I didn't want to know her after she walked out 14 years ago. I am a 16F, and I am living with my dad who has 100% sole custody of me. He has had custody since I was 2. My parents had me when they were quite young. My dad was 18 and mum was 20, and mum couldn't cope with how my existence inconvenienced her education and social life. She wanted to enjoy university and my existence got in the way of all of that. Therefore she upped sticks and left my dad to raise me by himself. And my dad is the complete opposite and has more worth in one of his pinky fingers than her entire existence. He has been both the mother and the father in my life. He has showered me with the love and affection that I needed. He has been strict with me when needed, and has guided me to be the person that I am today. And he has never missed a day or an opportunity of letting me know how much he loves me. He is my hero, and I doubt that I will ever love anyone else as much as I do my dad. I am unashamed to admit that I am a daddy's girl. Our life has been very stable, and he has done an amazing job of raising me throughout my childhood and into my teenage years. But now the egg donor, I won't apologize for calling her that, because just the thought of calling her, Mum, turns my stomach, is trying to rock the boat. She's contacted me, asking if we could meet up, because she wants to reconnect with me. She gave a sob story about how she spent years regretting her decision of not being in my life, and how she's now at a point in her life, mentally and financially, where she wants to give me what I am owed from her. She also has 2 children, 7 and 5, and she is hopeful that I can develop a relationship with my siblings. This is where I feel that I might have been an AH. Because in an outburst of sudden anger at suddenly being contacted, I told her to fuck off, and that nothing that she says could convince me to have anything to do with someone who I only consider to be an egg donor and incubator in my life. I thought that I gave up on my anger and resentment towards her a long time ago. But it felt like the dam broke, as I let out all of that anger and resentment that built up all those years ago, as I unleashed all of my pent-up feelings towards her. Because the anger that I felt wasn't only for myself and how she abandoned me. I also felt anger for the hurt, pain and struggles that she caused for my dad. And here she is, trying to reopen those old wounds that both myself and my dad have suffered at her selfish hands. I told her all of that, and how I consider myself to be the child of one parent, as the other one has been dead for most of my life. I'm not ashamed to admit that I took some joy in telling her how much of an amazing father and man that my dad is, and that both myself and my dad had a lucky escape getting away from someone who is as narcissistic and toxic as she is. And the only point where I remained somewhat civil, was when telling her how I don't want anything to do with her children. Because despite my anger and resentment towards her, those children are blameless and innocent. And if she tries to use them as an emotional weapon against me, or selfishly drags them into all of this, then that would only make me angrier than I already am. I blocked her from all of my socials. Though I know that this won't be over anytime soon, and my dad is preparing to lawyer up if she does try and drag this to the courts. But for now I am going to try and refocus on my GCSE exams, and looking forward to the upcoming trip away with my dad to celebrate the end of my exams. Relevant comments. Commenter 1, NTA really, you did what any sane person would do after years of neglect, and to be honest, you deserve a medal, because it takes a lot of courage to stand up for yourself, and I hope you find a way to move forward with peace of mind and a renewed sense of strength. Reply, Thankfully my dad has a big heart, and he has given me the love of two parents, smiley face. I doubt that I'd have the courage to stand up for myself if it wasn't for the way that he's raised me. Commenter 2, NTA. She's waited 14 years to contact you, while she's had other kids for what? 7 years? Nah. She could have reached out at any point. The fact that she waited until you're old enough to babysit is suspicious as hell. You owe her nothing. Reply, she tried reaching out last year, by contacting my dad. He spoke to me at the time about it, asked what I wanted to do, and he respected my decision of not wanting anything to do with her. He gave my response to her, but she's now bypassed him and contacted me directly. Downvoted commenter, I can't stop wondering who told you the reasons for her leaving. If it's not her, I would like to hear the reason from her own mouth. Reply, she told me herself as a part of her sob story. It was always difficult for my dad to give an appropriate response whenever I did ask him why she left us. But he did his very best to tell me in an age-appropriate way. Commenter 3, NTA, your egg donor wants a free babysitter. Commenter 4, that was my first thought. But the threat of a lump sum payment of all the back child support she owes should scare her off. Reply, it might sound silly, but I wouldn't want the back payment on the child support that she owes. I know that it'll probably sound like mental gymnastics, but I feel that accepting her money would give her a reason to believe that she would now have a say in my life. Is there any chances that OOP's dad can ask for child support if her mom is in a better place financially? Reply, my dad isn't struggling for money, and he's been placing money into a fund that I use for uni expenses. And the topic of back payments on child support has come up. But I am reluctant to accept any money from her, as I don't want to give her a reason to believe that she'd now have the right to have a say in my life because we've accepted money from her. Update. This is an update on a post that I made more than a month ago. For more information, you can find it here. Aita for telling my mom that I didn't want to know her after she walked out 14 years ago. But the TLDR. I am a 16F, and I am living with my dad who has 100% sole custody of me. He has had custody since I was 2. My parents had me when they were both quite young. My dad was 18 and mom was 20. And mom couldn't cope with how my existence and having to be a mom inconvenienced her education and social life. She wanted to enjoy university, going out drinking, and my existence got in the way of all of that. Therefore she upped sticks and left my dad to raise me by himself. She's made a few attempts over the last couple of years to re-enter my life. Her first attempt she tried through my dad, and when he spoke to me about it, I told him that I didn't want to know her. He returned that message her, and the most recent attempt by her occurred the other month. Only this time she bypassed my dad and messaged me directly. I admittedly blew up at her and took a lot of my frustrations out on her. Eventually though she respected the fact that I needed to concentrate on my GCSEs and she asked if we could meet up after I was done. I then spent a while trying to figure out what I should do. I spoke to my dad about it and he gave me his full support on whatever my decision would be. In the end I did agree to meet my mom in a public place and we met up yesterday at a coffee shop. My dad dropped me off and I asked him to stay close by to pick me up when I was done, so he went and did a bit of shopping for our upcoming trip away together. I understand that this is getting to be quite a long ready now, so I will try and keep it as simple as possible. But basically my mom started giving me an emotional story on how she has spent the last 10+ years regretting not being in my life. She told me that she was young when she walked out and was really unsure what she wanted in life. I responded that I can understand that she was young and becoming a mom at her age must have been incredibly difficult. But I pointed out that my dad was also young, younger than her in fact. But he stepped up and became a single parent, to the detriment of his own future dreams and relationships. So whilst I could sympathize with her, I still couldn't accept it as being a good enough reason. I could see that those words really stung her and whilst I knew that she was being genuine, I still couldn't forgive her for that and I did tell her that. She then informed me that her children, my half-siblings, would really like to meet their older sister and she showed me their photos and was telling me stories about their life. This honestly felt like a stab to the heart. Because a mom talking about her children, sharing photos of them, etc. is what I spent my life wanting. In the end I had to ask her to stop talking about her children. Because hearing these stories was bringing up the pain of the mom that I always wanted but never had. I also told her that no matter how much she tries, I wouldn't ever see her children as being my siblings. We didn't grow up together and we don't know each other. They are nothing but strangers to me and no different to the children that I see walking past me in the street. My emotions did get the slight better of me here and my mum did see my agitation growing. I won't bore you with everything that was said. But by the time that we were done with our conversation and were getting ready to leave, my mum got the wrong assumption thinking that this wouldn't be the last time that we'd meet up. Because she thanked me for giving her this opportunity to spend time with her eldest daughter and how she hopes that we can continue to heal our relationship. I had to stop her there, and this is where I am now second guessing on whether I was too harsh. Because I told her that under false illusion does this mean that we will one day have a mother/daughter relationship. I only gave her this time with me so that we could both say what needed to be said for the closure that will allow us to move on from each other. I don't right now and never will I consider her as my mum. Yes, she is the woman who gave birth to me and I will always be thankful to her for how she carried me for 9 months and gave birth to me. However, that doesn't mean that I will ever see her as my mum. She began to get rather emotional at this point, but I just had to ignore her so that I could finish what I wanted to say when I told her that I consider myself as only having one parent, my dad. And before we went our ways, whilst she was still trying to get her emotions under check whilst begging me to reconsider giving her a second chance, I felt that I had to be brutally honest when I requested that she doesn't contact me or my dad again. And that if I ever wanted to speak to her again, that I would be the one to reach out to her. I'm not heartless. The pain was honestly eating away at me as I watched my mum getting more and more emotional, and I was struggling to keep my own emotions under control. Because I wanted to cry, but I couldn't. I knew that I had to make my message crystal clear to her that I don't want anything to do with her. Not now or any time in the future. It was only when I met up with my dad and got into the car that I finally broke down and cried hysterically. My dad has given me his full support. He's reassured me that he'll always respect my decision. Whether I want my mum in my life, whether I want to go LC or completely remove her from my life. He will always support me and I really appreciate his support. His support has given me reassurances that I've done the right thing. However, whilst speaking to my best friends, they've been conflicted on the matter. They feel that I've been too harsh on my mum and that I should have been more responsive towards repairing a relationship with her. They believe that I should try and give her a second chance, otherwise I might one day regret it. I asked them to change the subject because I didn't want to talk about her anymore. But it did leave me wondering whether I was too harsh on my mum when she was trying to give me a genuine apology for all of her wrongdoings. Because she has accepted full responsibility for what she did and that there is nothing that could excuse what she did 14 years ago. That makes me feel like my friends were right and I was an to my mum when we met up. But I am just confused right now. My dad has offered me the chance of seeing a therapist for everything that I've been through, but I am reluctant. I am foolishly hoping that once I've been on this holiday with my dad and when we return home, these events with my mum will be in the distant past. Oh, and to finish off, in my last post, I had a number of comments telling me that my dad should chase my mum for child support. I did discuss this with my dad, but it's not something that he wants to do. He says that we're fine financially and he doesn't want to deal with the stress of going through the legal system, which can be slow, and end up in a prolonged legal battle with her. He's also got concerns that this would maybe give my mum more of incentive to try and forcibly be more involved in my life because she's now invested money into me and that would give her a legal right to having some form of access to me. Relevant comments. Commenter 1, NTA. She said she regretted last 10 plus not being in your but didn't even contact you even once until now. She made her bed when she abandoned you, now let her sleep on it. Actions has consequences. Reply, she's made a few attempts the last few years. But I always made it clear each time that I didn't want to have contact with her. I only agreed to meet up with her yesterday with the intention of telling her that I don't want her in my life regardless of what she had to say. But seeing her getting as emotional as she got did hit me in a way that I didn't expect. Commenter 2, wow, talk about throwing it in your face when she describing her children, you know, the ones she wanted to be a mother to. Some things can never be fixed no matter how hard you wish it, and that's a lesson your egg donor is learning. Reply, I know that she was just hoping that I might want to have a connection with my half-siblings. But it was incredibly hurtful the way that she brought them up in the conversation. She could have gone about addressing them to me in a much better way. And it's not like I am 100% against the idea of knowing them one day. But I couldn't do it whilst they are still living at home and under the influence of their mum. Commenter 3, still NTA. If she had regrets 10 years ago when you were 6, then a mother-daughter relationship might have happened if she was introduced to you slowly and you had a chance to build that bond and relationship. This isn't what's happening here. She's expecting an almost adult to be falling over yourself at the chance to have a relationship with her and her family. That's why she's already told her kids about their big sister, who they are now excited to meet. Any rational person would build a relationship with you first without adding into more people with expectations that you didn't sign up for. I do think speaking to someone is a good idea. If you're not comfortable with that, journal. Good luck with your GCSEs. I remember how tough they were. Reply, that's the really sad thing. Up till around the age of 10 to 12, I was still hoping for a chance of my mum re-entering my life. And I would have welcomed her back into my life. That little girl inside of me would have forgiven her. But I am almost an adult now. My dad has done the hard grafting of raising me and getting me through school. My childhood is over and it's too late for her now. I am receptive to the possibility of one day forming some kind of a relationship with my half-siblings. Because I can't hold them to blame for their mum's past behavior towards me. But I couldn't do it before we're all adults and they are no longer under the control of their mum. And thank you, smiley face. Commenter 4, so at 20 she was too young for a baby but dad wasn't? Your mum wants something. Maybe her new family/in-laws found out about you and questioned how she has no contact. Honestly, you did the absolute right thing for you. You got closure and saw her one last time. She had all those wonderful stories about her kids, but she couldn't, most likely, even tell you what your favorite color is. Not saying this to hurt but for clarity, she is not your mum, she is just the person that gave birth to you. A mum is someone who raises you, sweats, bleeds, and agonized over every decision about you. Worries about you and what you are doing. This woman didn't do any of that, and your dad did/is. Kudos to dad for being a man when he could have run. Reply, my dad said the same thing. My maternal grandparents were both deceased before I was born, which is why they aren't in the picture. But word of my existence probably has got out to her husband's family. A mum is someone who raises you, sweats, bleeds, and agonized over every decision about you. Worries about you and what you are doing. And this is why I show appreciation towards my dad on both Mother's Day and Father's Day. Because he took on the duty of being both my mother and my father, including certain stages of a daughter's life where a mum is needed. He has enough love to ensure that I've never gone without. Commenter 5, NTA. She's only doing this now BC her younger kids want to know you, and now you're basically grown, no longer a burden. Fuck her. But your dad should file for child support the week before you turn 18. She owes you that money, you could use it for uni or a house. And once you're 18, the court can't force a relationship. Reply, I do suspect that she used her children to try and guilt me into having a relationship with her via her children. She is aware of the fact that I have a soft spot for children and my future career ambition of becoming a pediatrician. OOP on her father trying to keep her mother updated on her life. Reply, my dad would always share updates on my life milestones, first day of school, my birthdays, etc., but she never showed an interest in the updates that my dad would send her. She blanked my entire existence, so birthday and Christmas presents from her were never a thing. I have had people previously warn me that if I did decide to make a connection with my mum and spend time with her, that it would hurt my dad's feelings. But rest assured, there is nothing that she could offer which would make me want to spend time connecting with her, let alone make me want to choose her over my dad. Because I'm not the only person who she hurt with her selfish actions. My dad struggled a lot, and I saw a lot of his struggles whilst I was growing up. He did his best to hide his struggles from me, but I saw them. And every time that I saw he was upset, I would always give my dad a cuddle and a, I love you. And I'd always feel a great feeling of happiness when I saw just how happy that made him. I could never forgive the person who caused all those struggles and pain to my dad. It's my daily habit. I don't miss a day when it comes to giving my dad a hug and telling him that I love him. Stories number 7. I was not meant to be a housewife and my husband recognizes that. F33, and, M36, married 16 years next month, no children, but 3 adorable cats. I lost my job in November. I was a director of resources at a non-profit that served the homeless. 80+ hour weeks. Always on call. Spent my days putting out fires, both small and large. I had worked very hard on my education and career to get to that point. I absolutely loved it and was very sad to leave, budget cuts. Up until that point my husband had been a house husband. He loved staying home, taking care of errands, cleaning the house and caring for our kitties. All so I could dedicate 100% of my efforts towards my career. It worked really well for us and he supported me 100%. After I lost my job, I immediately started looking for a new position. But the job market is tough. We lived off of savings and unemployment for a while, but eventually we had to figure out something new. So he went back to work. He's loving his new position, but with him gone all day that tasked me with the house duties, while still urgently searching for a job. It's been about 8 months now, and we've settled into a routine. But, honestly, I am absolutely miserable. I never wanted to be a housewife, absolutely no shade towards housewives. I see what other wives do and it's absolutely insane, just not my thing. Today I was expressing to him how unhappy and unfulfilled I was. His immediate response was to apologize for not saying enough how appreciative he was of me. I told him it was that I do feel appreciated. But more so I just wasn't accomplishing enough each day to feel fulfilled. Washing the same dish day after day just didn't do it for me. When he got home, he made a point to say how much, specifically, I had done that day. He complimented my, very basic, dinner like 3 times. After dinner he did all the dishes, I usually leave them till the morning, as well as the couple of chores I was meaning to do tomorrow. He also suggested we get pizza for dinner tomorrow. Then stated all the chores were done, and dinner taken care of for tomorrow. That I should, instead, take the entire day and focus on doing things that'll allow me to feel fulfilled, crafts, volunteering, whatever. Just do things that'll make me happy. I know this isn't going to fix everything. But to know I was heard and acknowledged in my misery, and my husband tried to fix it, even short term. Well, I just really appreciate that he appreciates that this isn't the life I want. And he will do whatever is in his power to help me do what I want to do in life. Stories number 8. Disgruntled customer complained about my glasses, boss asked me to take them off, I refused, sent me home with no pay regardless. I work in a quick lube, non-national chain, in a very red state, go Huskers. I comply with all dress codes listed in our employee handbook, we're provided uniforms, essentially the code is no large belt buckles, large piercings, wild hairstyles etc., which I don't care. I'm not one for extreme looks but I like to be weird, cause you know whatever. I wore these glasses today and a customer wasn't happy about it, to the effect of, "Why are you wearing those? They help me see." "Why those ones though?" "Because they work." He wasn't happy with my replies which I might have had a little attitude about, but this old ass farmer bro wasn't happy that the guy working on his vehicle was wearing some hippie ass glasses, or something to that effect. He complained to my boss and that is the summary I got. Got through the service without any incident, but then my boss asked me to take them off to avoid another incident. I didn't see the point and let him know that I plan on working with them anyway. Nothing is stated in the handbook about certain patterns of glasses I can wear. Stupid argument I know, but I'm good at my job and shit like this doesn't interfere. I've never had a complaint about my performance/customer service. Sometimes I wear things that are considered weird but not against policy. He tells me to clock out and go home since customers are complaining about my lack of respect. I tell him I'll comply but only if I'm not docked the hours I'd earn. He said forget that, hope you have a job come tomorrow. Do I have any recourse if I walk in jobless tomorrow? Where would I start? Edit. Definitely wearing them tomorrow lol. Relevant comments. Commenter 1. You are required to be paid for all hours worked. If you need to wear glasses to see, you're probably protected by ADA. It's not clear in your post if you actually need them, or if you were just shit stirring. If it's shit stirring, you're not covered and they can fire you for almost any reason, including this. Commenter 2. It's not clear in your post if you actually need them, or if you were just shit stirring. They help me see, sure sounds like he has prescription glasses. Commenter 3. They can fire you and they cannot pay you for hours you did not work. Is your boss telling you to take your glasses off when you talk to the customer or when you perform work on vehicles? Reply. When dealing with customers, they're in fact prescription, but I'm not entirely blind without them. Only issue would be our tickets/POS are through a computer and I definitely need them to help read the screen and to type, when I'd be dealing with customers anyway. Commenter 4. Even though they can fire you, and it's completely legal to not pay you for hours not worked, even if they're scheduled. Firing due to your use of prescription glasses is definitely not legal and should be pursued as such. Of course your employer could make an argument on the nature of your glasses being appropriate, but I can't imagine any sane judge or jury would find yours inappropriate, but of course that's something you could discuss with a lawyer should the worst happen. Edit 2. They are prescription. After sleeping on it I think I'll just try and eat shit today to try and keep my job. I have another pair of glasses I usually wear that I'll bring instead. Update. I'll make a detailed update after work but I'm still employed. I showed up for my shift around noon, was informed by coworker to go to the office to talk with the boss about yesterday. We sat down and aired out the whole incident, what I did wrong, what he did wrong, how to handle it better in the future etc. Told me I was not being fired or reprimanded in any way and that I would be credited 4 hours vacation for the time I missed yesterday. I can only assume that he did his own research or contacted his lawyer and was worried he might have been in violation of the Americans with Disabilities Act to some extent. Regardless how weak of a case I might have, he decided to credit my hours and move on, which I'm happy to do at this point. I've already been active in a new job search and this really adds further incentive at this point. Good chance I'll be moving in the near future to be closer to my GF, but I'll stick it out at this place for the time being as it's my primary source of income. Side note, the boss dad happens to know the customer in question and stated that he's a real piece of work and I should be given the benefit of the doubt with what transpired. Sorry this isn't as juicy a post as originally thought. At this point all I'm out of is a story for our revenge. I'm allowed to wear any eyeglasses I want, well I'm sure within reason. I'm willing to field ideas lol. TL, DR. Flower print eyewear got me a half day off with pay. Stories number 9. I'm eloping on Friday because my family wants us to delay the wedding until my brother gets released from prison. We don't want to wait, so we are just going to the courthouse by ourselves. Ever since I got engaged a month ago, my parents, my brother and some of my other family have been pressuring us to wait to get married until my other brother is released from prison. My M29, fiancé, F29, and I plan to have the wedding in November. My brother will be in prison for at least another 5 years. There is no guarantee he will be released then, that is just the earliest he could be released. My brother went to prison over my nephew's death. My brother and his wife were convicted of manslaughter because the law required everyone on the boat to wear a life jacket and my nephew wasn't wearing one. His death destroyed my entire family. I don't want to wait another 5 years and neither does my fiancé. We have been together for 3 years and we are ready now. I know my brother going to prison was hard on everyone, including me. I have missed him being around for so many years. I thought if I talked to my brother he would be understanding and tell everyone to stop pressuring us, but instead he got mad at me for wanting to get married while he was in prison. After that my fiancé and I decided we are just going to go to the courthouse on Friday by ourselves. No one in her family will care if we elope and honestly we are done with the pressure. We aren't going to tell anyone until afterwards. Neither of us care about having a big wedding and I am so tired of everyone telling us to wait until my brother gets out. I don't care if anyone is angry with us. I honestly don't. Some of comments. In response to a downvoted commenter, but I liked OOP's response. I said right in post that my brother going to prison has been hard on me and that I've missed having him around during all the years he's been in prison. I don't condone what he did and I'm upset he wants me to delay the wedding, but I am allowed to have more than one feeling about something. You have no idea what you're talking about. Commenter. Alternatively, see if an off-site video visit would be possible during any events, so that the brother can feel like they're part of the family even though they're doing time. Edit 2. If you really want to be absurd with this, have someone do the actual ceremony inside the jail during a visit, so the brother can at least watch. Reply, neither of those would be allowed under the prison rules and policies. There is absolutely no chance and I wouldn't have my wedding inside a prison anyways. Top comment. Commenter 1. Your family is really entitled. The world isn't waiting for your brother to get out of a prison. Your entire family is insane for thinking you had to wait. Obviously, brother didn't ask for permission to do his crime, so him getting upset that you're living your life is ridiculous. Update post. I just want to say how much I appreciated the supportive comments in my first post. My wife and I did go to the courthouse on Friday, just the two of us. We, F29 and M29, didn't tell a single person beforehand. We spent Friday and yesterday at home together. Today before my wife and I both went to work we called her parents and her sisters to tell them, and then we called my parents. After that we emailed or messaged some other family and friends. Everyone in her family understood why we eloped. My family not so much, but I don't care after the way they acted. My brother, and his wife, have been in prison for several years already, and the earliest they could be released is the year 2030. They are in prison for manslaughter because my nephew's death. The law requires everyone on the boat to wear a life jacket. No one on board including my toddler nephew was wearing one. My brother and my sister-in-law were both convicted of manslaughter after my nephew died. My wife and I didn't want to wait 5 years to get married. Also prison rules wouldn't allow for my brother to watch a live stream or see a video later on. We didn't want to have a vow renewal or reception after my brother gets out. We don't see a need to have another ceremony or to delay our reception. We have been clear to everyone we know that we don't want another ceremony or to have a reception or party, now or later. We don't think there's anything wrong with the focus being on the couple on their wedding day and not one of the guests. I absolutely hate what my brother did and I was angry at him for a long time. My nephew was a toddler and I think about him all the time and what he would be like now. I also miss my brother being around, and this tragedy and my brother going to jail has been difficult for everyone in my family, including me. It doesn't mean I can't be angry at my brother for how he acted about my wedding, but outside of that I still do miss my brother. I don't regret eloping though. Friday was the best day and I love my wife. We have no regrets about our courthouse wedding. One of comments. Commenter 1, I'm truly sorry about your family's situation and I admire your decision to prioritize your happiness. It's understandable that you didn't want to wait, and it's great that you found a way to make it work for both of you. Reply, thank you. I thought I would feel guilty about eloping and not telling my family about it, but I don't. My wife and I are happy and have no guilt about any of it. Stories number 10. I, 31M, found out my wife, 30F, has been getting a coworker, 29F, to spy on me at work. We have been married for 5 years and together for 8. Not really great at writing, so apologies in advance. I'll try to include as much info as I think is relevant, but please feel free to ask me for more in the comments if I wasn't clear about something. My wife has been jealous of a coworker at my job for some time now. Her name is Heather and she's in her early 20s, tall, pretty. Just observations as I have a pair of eyes. Heather is nice, but I don't go out of my way to talk to her. We worked together on a project about 8 months ago, which is when this seems to have started. Heather, 3 other coworkers, and I were assigned to this project, and so for a good month we spent much time together at work. My wife saw her one day when we were all coming out and she was picking me up to go to dinner at my parents'. She immediately asked who she was and if she worked at my job. I told her she was new and was put on our project. For the entire duration of the project my wife was in a bad mood almost every day and would take every opportunity to tear Heather down, saying she was lanky or her nose was crooked or whatever. She is insecure about her height because she's 5 feet 4 inches and not a 6 foot tall glamazon. I love my wife's height and her petite figure and tell her this every day. She is extremely gorgeous and turns heads whenever we walk downtown. But once she saw Heather was tall and not ugly, she was convinced I thought she was hot. I kept telling her she was just a colleague and that I had no interest in her. Regardless, she would greet her coldly or not at all if she saw my colleagues. Our home and jobs are located downtown, so we usually walk to meet up with each other after work. My wife would start dressing up a lot more than usual when she'd come meet me and make a big show of jumping on me and stuff. She works at a very nice bakery and usually brings leftovers from work for us or people at my job. She always gave things out to everyone except Heather. Eventually Heather picked up on the hostility and approached me to ask about why my wife was acting that way. I simply told her I didn't know, maybe because she didn't know her as long as the other colleagues she was distant. She seemed to accept that but would no longer leave at the same time as everyone else and would either go early or hang back. Brian, another coworker, approached me on Friday and asked to talk to me privately. He told me he had been at lunch with Kate, the coworker in question, and she had gone to pay for the food. She left her phone on the table. It lit up with a text and he saw it was from Valerie, my wife's name. The text basically said, "Did you see him talking to her today?" What did he say, then? Do you think Heather is going to stay at that job long? When Kate came back to the table he asked her if that was Valerie as in my wife. She got a deer in headlights look and said, "Oh yeah. We text sometimes. We're friends." He said he thought it was weird because she put her phone in her purse without even checking the messages he had asked about and wanted to go. I went home and I snooped on my wife's phone. I know it was wrong, but I had a feeling that if I asked her she would deny it or become defensive and not show me the phone. There were weeks worth of texts that basically were little reports on what went on at work. If Heather talked to me, what we talked about, did she hug me goodbye, did she touch me at all, did I laugh at her jokes? Did the guys think she was hot, did I join in with them, did I look like I was flirting? Kate was also apparently talking up Valerie at work to Heather. She made sure to mention often we were married, how great Valerie was, how long we'd been together. I even read one that said, "I told her Val works in a bakery. I bet if anyone tried to steal her husband she'd just chop them up and bake them into a pie, which was pretty fucking creepy. A lot of things started coming together then. Heather was much more distant lately, she seemed hesitant to say bye at the end of the day. We used to talk casually like everyone else at work, but now she would just say hi and bye mostly. I've been sitting on this information all weekend. Today at work I could hardly look at Heather for shame of it, and I couldn't look at Kate for my disgust. I haven't been able to approach my wife about this because I just don't know how or what to say. I feel frustrated and very much weirded out. I feel gross too, like I've had my every move watched without knowing it and as if just talking to a coworker is doing something wrong. I haven't talked to anyone else about this, not even Brian who first mentioned it. I don't know what to do from here. I don't even know what this means for our relationship. It feels like something big has changed because I haven't been able to look at her the same way and all my interactions with her since Friday have been kind of forced and faked. I need to talk to her and figure out what to do. Any advice would be appreciated. I feel very lost right now. TLDR, my wife has felt insecure about another coworker because they are tall and attractive. She has been texting with another coworker of mine who gives her reports on my interactions with the coworker my wife is jealous over. I feel betrayed and a bit sick thinking of it. I don't know what this means for us or how to proceed. Relevant comments. Commenter 1. This is couples counseling time hardcore. She, your wife, has totally broken your trust and is treating you like a criminal. She's being mean, disrespectful, sneaky, and just an all-around jerk. Kate should also be seriously ashamed of herself. I dunno, man. Were it me, I'd talk to my wife, insist on counseling, but if she refuses to go or causes a huge stink, I'd rethink the marriage. I might even report Kate to HR for unprofessional conduct and creating a hostile work environment. Reply. Going to bring up counseling today when I get home from work and talk to her about this. Commenter 2. Your wife's insecurity could cost you your job. You want to be glad Heather doesn't know about the spying, yet, poor H already is having to sneak around her own workplace to humor your wife. Couples counseling for you and wife, no excuses. If she says no, then your marriage has no future outside of a divorce court. Normally I'd say you need to apologize to H for what has happened, but here I think it will merely confirm it is really happening, and could again threaten your job. But how you will be able to continue to work with Kate, or Heather, wow, that'll be hard. TBH, you need to consider looking for a new job. And perhaps wife. Reply: I was worried about this too, but I don't know exactly how it would play out so that I'd lose my job. Can you give me an example so when I talk to my wife I bring this up? I thought about it, but I don't know how the boss could fault me personally for something my wife, an external source, and another coworker did. But please let me know, would be great to make her see what this could literally cost us. Commenter 3. Has your wife been irrationally jealous before? Did something happen in your relationship to make her lose all trust for you? I guess those things don't really matter, you guys need couples counseling regardless, but I'm curious as to where this behavior is coming from. I'm sorry this is making work so uncomfortable for you and especially for Heather who never asked for any of this. Please talk to your wife so you can save your job, marriage, and all the unfortunate bystanders who are now involved. Reply: yes, she has. My wife is very insecure about her looks and I find it very sad. I'm not saying this because I'm her husband, but she is very beautiful. Long dark hair, light brown eyes, perfect face. She really does get a lot of looks and double takes. But she experienced a lot of bullying as a kid. She had bushy brows growing up and was the only Italian girl in her middle school. She grew up thinking she was ugly for not being tall or blonde-haired and blue-eyed. She thinks that's secretly what I want, I guess, although I've never said anything to indicate that. Update. First off, would like to thank everyone for their responses and for taking the time to give me advice. I did not expect the 300 or so comments I received, so please don't take it personally if I didn't reply to yours. I was very much overwhelmed by and grateful for the support. On to the update. Took the general advice and confronted Valerie and used therapy as a non-negotiable term. So Tuesday when I posted I saw Kate at work and bluntly said, you don't need to report on me today or any day after this. I'll be talking to my wife after I'm done today. She got this blank look on her face and said she didn't know what I meant, but I noticed her hanging around significantly less than usual after that. I did my best to focus on my work, but I asked to go home early because it was just impossible with everything looming ahead for me to concentrate. I went home and texted my wife that I was home early and I needed to talk to her when she was done work, so to please come home right away. I got a bunch of, "What's going on? What's wrong?" texts, but just kept telling her I'd talk to her at home. She got home and I got into it right away. Told her I knew about the texts with Kate, about the spying, the harassment of Heather. She was mad at first and kept adamantly saying she did nothing wrong, and if I had nothing to hide, why did it matter? I told her to please not play me for a fool and outlined all the things her behavior meant, like lack of trust and sheer vindictiveness. I brought up the consequences like my damaged trust and drama in the workplace. I also brought up how my job could be at risk because of this. She made a point to say they couldn't fire me without also removing Heather, as she'd say she was being inappropriate towards a married man in the workplace and Kate would back her up. That brought us to a heated argument and it ended with her crying and me yelling. She started asking, "Who the fuck is Heather to you that you give so much of a shit anyway?" and derailed into this whole thing about me caring too much about someone I claimed meant nothing to me. I don't want to get into too much detail because this would be extremely long, but the conversation was a good 5 to 6 hours long. It ended with her agreeing to go to couples therapy and individual if the couples therapist so deemed it. She apologized to me a lot and admitted she had been acting out of jealousy and anger towards Heather. She asked if I wanted her to apologize to Heather in person, but I said no, I didn't want there to be more drama. I watched as she texted Kate and told her to stop and that she was sorry for dragging her into it. She gave me the password to her phone for transparency, but I told her it was pointless, as if she really wanted to continue, she could just delete the texts before I saw them or change the name or whatever. I told her I expected her to keep her word to stop, because if I got any indication that this was still going on after our talk, that I would separate from her and file for divorce. Yesterday morning things still seemed tense, but it was to be expected. She still kissed me before going to work and we had a normal text conversation on our commute. I get to work and Kate apologizes to me and I accept it, but tell her our work relationship from here on out is forever changed and there's no going back from it. I tell her that beyond work conversation, we have nothing else to talk about. She accepted it and went on to start the day. Lunch rolls in. I ask Brian if he'll let me buy him lunch and thank him for telling me. We go to have lunch and he asks me if I've heard Heather put in her request for a transfer. Apparently on Tuesday when I left early, Heather asked why I wasn't at my desk because she had brought over the week's project booklet and had seen me there earlier. Kate of all people told her I had gone home to deal with personal issues. When Heather asked if everything was alright, Kate told her that she hoped so because, "I don't want to see someone come between Valerie and World's Gone Mad's marriage." There must have been a bit more to the exchange because Heather went all the way up to our boss's boss and asked for a transfer to a different department. I feel extremely embarrassed because without a doubt I feel like that guy now in the office. I know Brian isn't a gossip, but of course people will ask why Heather transferred and without a doubt it will eventually get out. People who used to talk to me casually probably will stop. The women of the office will feel as if they need to keep their distance. And I feel so ashamed that I can't even approach Heather to apologize for the stress this must have caused her. I doubt she even would want to see my face at this point. So yes, wife has agreed to counseling both couples and individual, apologize to me, all those things. But the damage is now done and I feel like complete shit about work now. I guess I shouldn't have been so naive to think that just fixing this with my wife would make everything else go away. Anyway, thank you all for the advice. I was feeling very at sea before writing that post. I still feel a bit lost as far as how to deal with the fallout of all of this, but at least I have one part of it sorted or on its way to being sorted out, so that's a positive. TLDR, confronted my wife about the texts. She agreed to go to couples therapy and individual therapy and cut contact with the office spy. Unfortunately, Heather put in a request for a transfer, so it seems like while I may be able to salvage my personal relationship, my work relationship is now tarnished. Stories number 11. Aita for living with my ex-girlfriend's mom after we broke up. EX cheated and her mom kicked her out and said I could stay. Hi 22. My EX 22F cheated on me, her mom kicked her out. Her mom 43F said I could live in the house forever if I wanted. Ida if I stay. Sorry about the length and grammar, here is some backstory. I met my EX, let's call her Lisa so it's less intense for me. Writing X is still a lot, you know. We met in high school, we started dating when we were 13. It was great, her mother liked me and I loved Lisa, she was funny, smart and was gorgeous. We spent a lot of time at her place, I was so happy back then. I don't have parents so I lived with my grandma, but she was more than enough. She was strong, funny in a crude way, lively and a straight up badass. I was 17 when she passed and I moved in with her and her mom. I was devastated, but they were very inviting. My relationship with Lisa grew, it was amazing, they helped me through it. Lisa was my rock. It was the three of us since until now. Every day was similar. After our HS graduation, her mom would drop Lisa off at university and then her mom, let's call her Jen, writing her mom over and over in this rant will be weird. Jen and I would go to work, we work on the same street and then we'd leave at 5 p.m. and go home. Lisa would be home by then ate dinner together. It was like that for the past 2 years. I know for some that sounds boring, but I enjoy stability. I was happy and we were saving up money for our own place, a good place. Jen never asked for rent, but she always took it because she knows how important it is to me that I contribute. Lisa and Jen were my family. I was going to marry Lisa and Jen was my best friend. I know it's weird that my best friend is my ex-girlfriend's mom. I found out she was cheating on me last month. She accidentally sent me a text that was clearly meant for him. I was devastated and started crying. It was unbearable. Jen heard me. I showed her my phone and she just held me. Lisa came home and instead of apologizing or making an excuse, she said with venom, I have a new and better man, pack up. It repeats in my head most days. Jen snapped. There was screaming and swearing. Jen ended up telling Lisa she had 30 minutes to pack up. I just hid in the office and locked the door. I just couldn't handle it. I was paralyzed in that one spot. Lisa left about 2 hours later. Jen held me and said, this is your home for as long as you want. If you want to move, I'll miss you, but you'll still be family. If you want, you can stay forever. Being told that really helped me feel safe and took away some of my nerves. Sometime when I wasn't around, Lisa and her dad came by to pick her stuff up. Lisa and Jen have had a couple major fights, but Jen made it so I happened to never be around for most of them. Lisa and her friends are giving me a hard time, sending hurtful text messages, and I just don't know how to deal with that. Lisa has been switching between calling me a loser for living with Jen and asking me for a second chance. I am never getting back together with her. I don't love her anymore. I have succeeded in avoiding any one-on-ones with Lisa, but I'm eventually going to have to talk to her. Lisa has been living with her dad. He has tried to mediate, but that was not accepted by me. Jen's stance is whether I live here or not. Her daughter is not invited to live at home. Her actions are disgusting and she needs severe and permanent consequences. She told me that she still loves Lisa but not the person she has become. I want to continue to live here for the time being. I sleep in the old office, which is now my room, and our old room is now the study. It's the only home I've ever had and Jen is my best friend. A lot of people in my life think I'm responsible for Lisa being kicked out. That's what got me questioning myself. Did I take her home away? Aita if I continue to live with my ex's mom. Sorry for ranting in my grammar and I left out chunks because I'm still struggling or just missed it. Sorry it's so long. Relevant comments. Commenter 1. NTA live with Jen. She views you as her child. I'm 99% sure of that, and she basically adopted you when your grandmother passed. She already told you to her you are family and you can stay. You staying or leaving doesn't change her position on Lisa, so no, you didn't take Lisa's home from her. Lisa took her home from herself when she cheated. All you moving out will do is hurt you both, you and Jen, in the long run. She wants to you stay and your home is with her it sounds like. Seems to me you're overthinking it. Reply, I won't be moving out until it makes sense for me and Jen, we are just starting to find some sort of normality. I think we are both dealing with a lot and having someone in your corner helps. I've lived here for over 5 years, this is the first house I've ever lived in so I'm pretty attached. Commenter 2. NTA don't disrespect Jen by allowing Lisa to decide who lives in the house. Your family and this is your home. That was Jen's decision. It's not like she's going to welcome Lisa back just because you leave anyway. Reply, I won't but being told something gets to you somehow. I appreciate everything she has ever done for me and I do my best to show it. Commenter 3. NTA, stay at Jen's for a while, she's clearly your mom now. But most people need to move out of their parents' home eventually. Work, save up, get yourself a good place, and you fucking call her every Wednesday and Sunday after you move out, and have dinner with her as often as you can. When you say goodbye at the end of the phone calls or dinners, you tell her, I love you mom. Reply, thank you I will. I plan on living there until I can get a place that I can call my own, I only want to have moved once. No matter what I'm going to keep that relationship it means the world to me. Never had a mom but I think she is. Update, AITA for living with my ex-girlfriend's mom after we broke up. EX cheated and her mom kicked her out and said I could stay. Hi I am 22 made a post a while ago asking if I was an asshole for living with EXGF mom after she kicked my ex out. Most of the info is in my first post but to recap my XGF22F I called her Lisa in my last post she cheated on me and then said some cruel stuff and her mom I called her Jen kicked her out. Her mom Jen said I was welcome to live here for as long as I want. I took the breakup hard we were 13 when we started dating and when I was 17 my grandma passed. I went to live with Lisa and Jen and this house has been my home. I loved Lisa with everything I had and Jen had become a mother figure for me. This was the first house I lived in and I have lived here longer than any other place so I call this place home. Jen choosing to let me stay meant the world to me. After the breakup Lisa and her former friends relentlessly attacked me and blamed me for Lisa being kicked out and it became overwhelming. Being told that over and over convinced me that I was at fault but writing everything down helped and I received some DMs that helped a lot. Now for the actual update a lot happened. A few days after my post Lisa came by we talked just the two of us for the first time since she was kicked out. She started off by apologizing but immediately tried shift blame on me and then her mom. Then asked if she could have a second chance, I said no and then she asked if I was sleeping with her mom I said no that she is the only person I have ever been intimate with and that Jen was basically my mom. Then she said so you're still in love with me a smugness that drove me insane. I remember exactly what I told her, I don't love you the second I found out you cheated on me it disappeared and that I would rather drink 3 liters of elephant piss every day for the rest of my life before I would get back together with her. She slapped me and then went to the backyard and had it out with Jen. She said some of the most vile things I've ever heard in my life and I won't write it down and I definitely won't speak it to her mom it was disturbing. Then Jen in a very calm voice said that she was no longer her daughter and told her she was trespassing and to get out Lisa looked shocked and then stormed off. The second Lisa left Jen had a meltdown it lasted hours I was pissed off at Lisa. She confided in me that she hates her daughter now and doesn't want a relationship with her anymore. She started going to therapy and told me around 2 weeks ago that she is disowning Lisa and it's what's best for her mental health. That her therapist said she can still love her daughter and not want anything to do with her. I've been supporting her the best I can, I like being helpful. Lisa made less and less attempts to contact me, she is living with her dad. 5 days ago I got a text from Lisa's best friend let's call her Kate she was one of a few of Lisa's friends who didn't harass me and actually picked me in the breakup. We've talked a few times since the breakup to console me. She asked if she could come by with some of Lisa's friends so they can apologize I was apprehensive but this woman is a straight shooter and I was curious. So they came by and Kate said thank you for letting them come over. Then the other 3 women each took turns apologizing to me then they apologized to Jen for everything then dropped a bomb. They didn't know she was cheating apparently Lisa has been telling people that she only cheated because I was sleeping with her mom and that's why she was kicked out. I asked why they thought I would ever do something like that and why are they apologizing now. They said it was easier to think I was a cheater than their best friend was a lying siente, their word not mine. They told me they had cut her out, I must have looked like I didn't believe them so they all showed me their text messages to Lisa and their social media. It seemed really important to them that I believed them and yeah they definitely did. They were not gentle about it to say the least. I accepted their apology mostly. They all left but Kate and Jen went to the backyard I don't know what they talked about but they were both smiling when they came back. I thanked Kate for setting them straight and being on my side throughout the breakup. She said she was just following her moral compass. I'm doing much better now and I don't plan on moving out until the time is right for Jen and me. Jen has become my best friend and we support each other. I have a routine I follow that really helps. Also, I started sleeping better. I mostly just wrote this because it helps me clear my mind. I skipped a lot and sorry for my spelling. Relevant comments. Commenter 1. Can I just say how happy I am that you actually called the friends out? Oh, we thought that you were sleeping with her mom and got her kicked out. And why would you believe that? Seriously, more people on this sub need to do that. You did nothing wrong, bud. Good luck. Commenter 2. Right? That moment was so satisfying. OP handled it with way more calm than most people would. Calling them out without losing it took strength, and they needed to hear how ridiculous they sounded. Reply. All I did was talk to them and ask questions. Kate's the one who made them see that Lisa was lying, and Jen kept me grounded and calm. I won't lie, I was pissed that they thought that I was a cheater. These women know me. Commenter 3. Lisa sounds unhinged. Destroying everything and everyone in her path. Good riddance to her. Glad you have been vindicated and they all got to see her for who she is. Reply. When she cheated and was so cruel it destroyed me, then friends started harassing me, it was overwhelming. Now it feels like it's getting better. I still have trust issues though. Commenter 4. I hope you save well for Jen's care. You know, she just sentenced her relationship with her daughter for you. I hope you at least respond well to her needs, and don't leave her when you have no benefits from her. Reply. I won't move out until it's best for the both of us. But I won't leave her, she's always going to be in my life, we work together and she is my best friend. Stories number 12. Aita for telling a couple to fuck off in the cinema after she interrupted my viewing to tell me stop laughing because it was annoying her. I've just got back from a highly anticipated trip to the cinema with friends. The film? Superman, big silly superhero fun. There was couple sat to my right, with a seat space in between me and the girl of the couple. We were around the halfway mark when she leant in over and said, "Excuse me, can you stop laughing please? Because it's really annoying me." I was initially a bit taken aback and asked her if she was being serious. She said very firmly, yes. Trying to contain my immediate anger, I explained that we were in a public cinema and that I would laugh if I wanted to. Her partner then leant over waving his finger in my face about to lay in, and I shut him down by saying, "Shut the fuck up you fucking prick." I admit, not my most adult of responses, but I was so angry by what was happening. He responded by telling me to get out of the cinema. I said no and repeated my previous comment. Blood was boiling. He then stood up and told me I was being abusive and left to go and tell someone. While waiting for him to return, his partner sat in her seat sobbing. This whole situation was caused by her. He eventually came back, asked her if she wanted to leave because he'd sorted some free tickets, to which she said yes. As they left, he turned around and told me the police had been called. I sat there for the next half an hour trying to get back to enjoying the film, but the adrenaline was surging. I'm not usually one for conflict, so my concentration was shaken. Going to watch a film at the cinema has been something I've enjoyed for most of my life, and due to having small children, the opportunities to do it are not as frequent as they used to be. If I'd spoiled someone's movie viewing experience due to obnoxious behavior, I would have been mortified, but I was just enjoying my own experience, which was somewhat ruined by this person. I put it to you good people of Reddit, Aita. P.S. No police were called. Stories number 13. I refused to date my friend because of his toxic family. 30F, has a close college friend, Marlon, 31M, who moved in after a messy breakup with his ex, Paige, 29F, due to toxic influence of his financially dependent family. Only successful member of his family, Marlon is belittled and financially supports his unemployed brother and parents, who harassed and assaulted Paige for money, leading to criminal charges and end of their relationship. Marlon's inability to set boundaries has cost him his relationship with Paige and friendships. He asked OOP out, she couldn't dating him unless he cuts ties with his family, after his mother rejected the idea due to OOP's skin color and beliefs. Marlon is living with OOP under a lease. OOP and friends continue urging him to gain independence and distance himself from his toxic family. Update. Paige broke up with Marlon, she and OOP became friends, started spending time together. Marlon continued to spiral under weight of supporting his toxic family, belittling him and demand more money. Despite the efforts to help him set boundaries, Marlon tried to reconnect with Paige, even when she threatened legal action if he kept showing up uninvited. Paige started dating someone new, Marlon's mental state worsened, and OOP was on a trip. His parents showed up at OOP's house demanding money, medical support, and asked if she bears them a grandchild. Later, they pressured Marlon into agreeing to take out loans and get a new truck for his dad, leaving him overwhelmed. He trashed parts of the house. OOP is considering evicting Marlon for her well-being. Update 2. Sorry for the late update, had a lot of stuff going on. As quite a few of you have strongly suggested, I, 30F, evicted Marlon, 31M, from my home, giving him the 30-day notice to leave, hence he no longer living with me. I recognize now that the Marlon I befriended from years ago, when we were in college, is not the same person I know now. Because of that, Tiffany, 30F, and I organized for Marlon to move in with non-toxic family members of his. I'll explain how we got here. Also, just as a side note, but Paige has seen my posts and is reading them, as well as the comments. She has also posted her own update as well, with the link to that posted above. So, on June 4th, I decided to have a sit-down with Marlon. I told him that given the chaos he's been causing for himself and me, I felt it was best that he moves out, hence I handed him the notice for him to leave. He asked where he was going to go, but I reminded him that he does pay the rent for his parents' apartment, so he could move into the apartment he is already paying for or spend extra money, renting somewhere else. Either way, he had 30 days to organize his own accommodation. He didn't really argue, as he did recognize he overstayed his welcome. I also informed him that I did not want his parents coming to my house ever again. Fast forward to 2 weeks later, still within the 30 days he had to leave, Marlon came home telling me that he got fired. He didn't tell me about this previously, but a few days before his firing, his parents came to his office to berate Marlon again. He didn't say what for, but also to demand that his manager give him a pay raise as Marlon wasn't earning enough to support the three of them. They of course caused a commotion in the office, Marlon's parents arguing with his manager, and Marlon, rather than stand up to his parents, got scared and started basically begging his manager to give him a raise just to keep the peace with his family. Marlon's parents were escorted out of the office by security, and Marlon's boss had a pretty tense talk with him about this immediately after they were removed. As I understood, Marlon's issues with his family and his breakup with Paige, 30F, was causing him a lot of stress. Initially Marlon's boss was understanding and did encourage him to take some time off to take care of himself, but after a while, Marlon seemed distracted and the quality of his work was declining to the point it was starting to affect the productivity of the team. Additionally, before this incident, Marlon's parents have sent emails and left voice messages to Marlon's boss, which also annoyed him, Marlon's boss, but also attracted the attention of upper management. Bear in mind, Marlon had a pretty well-paying job, with most of that money going towards his family's debts, shopping, and expenses. Fast forward to the week before Marlon was supposed to move out. Marlon was still looking for a new place to stay, while also looking for a new job. Tiffany initially offered to let Marlon move in with her for a few days, but her husband Christian, 35M, shot down that idea immediately as he understood the situation with Marlon and didn't want him in their house, and Marlon has become more stressed and irrational because of the situation his parents put him in. Anyway, we were celebrating Paige's 30th birthday at Tiffany's home. While Marlon knew about the event, he wasn't invited, for obvious reasons. During the get-together, while we were just hanging out in the living room, Marlon just walked into the house, uninvited. He didn't even ring the doorbell and entered the living room saying hi, awkwardly smiling, trying to act cool, pretending like he belonged there, pretending that what he was doing was somehow normal. Tiffany and I asked him what is he doing here. Marlon initially lied, saying that he was invited, but Tiffany noted that she didn't invite him. Marlon then said something along the lines of, "Well, you guys," referring to me and Tiffany, "are my friends, so," to which I cut him off, with me telling him, "Yeah, but you weren't invited, and this is for Paige, not you," as I also pointed out that it was incredibly inappropriate for him to be here. He then tried speaking to Paige, who was seated next to her boyfriend Virgil, 33M, asking her if they could talk in private. Paige just coldly looked at him and told Marlon no, and Paige telling him to leave. Marlon then just started talking, saying things like, "We can talk about this, and we can still make this work if you just agree to talk to me." Marlon also added that his mom said she'd be willing for Paige to date Marlon again if Paige apologizes to her. Marlon's mom, forgetting Ryan, Marlon's older brother, sent to jail for trying to rob Paige's tattoo parlor last year, and if Paige withdraws her restraining order against his mom. Marlon then also tried to remind Paige that she is a criminal, as well as Paige was once arrested for disorderly conduct after she participated in a Black Lives Matter protest in NYC back in 2020, for which she paid a fine for, so Marlon believes that it wasn't fair for her to have his brother arrested for attempting to rob her parlor. Additionally, Marlon talked about how his mom is still stalking Paige on social media, saw her photos with her new boyfriend Virgil, to which Marlon talked about how his mom doesn't approve of the fact Paige is dating a black man. Virgil is half black, to which Paige interrupted him, angrily shouting back, "I don't give a FCK what your mom thinks." Paige continued saying that she doesn't want to cater to his mom's whims, reminded Marlon of all the anti-Semitic slurs his parents called her. As previously mentioned, Paige is Jewish. In the last few months of her relationship with Marlon she wasn't happy and that she wants nothing to do with his family. Additionally, Paige also went on to say that she's happy with Virgil as unlike Marlon, he actually does support her. Marlon then tried to grab Paige's hand as he tried begging again, but Virgil got up and shoved Marlon, causing Marlon to fall back and Virgil telling him to get the FCK back. Virgil then again reminded Marlon that Paige already broke up with him, she already told him he, Marlon, wasn't invited and she already told him to leave, as Paige held back Virgil. Christian and Andy, another guest, were about to grab Marlon and drag him out of the house. Paige then got up, told them to stop. She then said, "Fine Marlon, you want to talk, let's talk." For a few seconds, Marlon excitedly smiled with glee, only for Paige to elaborate that she wasn't going to talk about getting back together with him, that simply was never on the table, but instead, she wanted to talk about everything that was wrong with Marlon, specifically his toxic relationship with his parents. As soon as she said that, Marlon just nervously said, "I don't want to talk about that." Paige replied saying, "Well, I didn't want you here either, but here we are." For the next 2 hours, Paige's birthday party then turned into an impromptu intervention with Paige berating Marlon for his spinelessness, Paige saying things like, "Why couldn't you have stuck up for me when I did that for you? Why can't you stand up for yourself? Do you like getting hurt? And, have they, his parents, ever made you happy?" Paige went on to acknowledge that they did have good times when we're together, but that was before his parents showed up back in his life. Marlon in turn switched between trying to defend his parents and saying he didn't want to talk about his parents' toxic behavior, with Marlon saying things like, "I'm just trying to be a good son," Marlon talking about how old and sickly his mom is, and how he needs to take care of his parents because they're family. Marlon also kept repeatedly shouting things like, "I don't want to talk about this," and, "I did not come here to talk about this," referring to Paige forcing Marlon to confront his problems. Christian chimed in, telling Marlon, "It's not enough that you're setting yourself on fire to keep your ungrateful parents warm, but you're now trying to set 2 other women, me and Paige, on fire as well," followed by Christian telling Marlon to grow up, stop humiliating yourself, and man the FCK up. To which Marlon, while crying, screamed back at Christian, "No." Tiffany then told off Christian for being too cruel to Marlon, to which Christian reminded Tiffany that Marlon isn't one of her students. Tiffany works as a preschool teacher, so she should stop treating him like a child. Tiffany and Christian then got into a separate argument because of this, as Christian reminded Tiffany that the two of them have a kid on the way, hence she can't keep spending her money to help Marlon. Towards the end, Marlon was just this crying, blubbering, incoherent mess, and saying he just wanted things to go back to normal, while keeping his family happy. Paige then composed herself and asked Marlon about his Aunt Grace, who is the older sister of Marlon's mom, asking him if he still had contact with her. Marlon said yes, as he still had her on Facebook as well as having her email saved somewhere on his phone. Paige then told Marlon to unlock his phone and give it to her, which he did so she could look for Grace's email address. Paige explained to me and Tiffany that Grace was one of the few kind and non-toxic family members Marlon had. She told us of how Marlon previously talked about how when he was growing up, Grace was to protect him from his mom's abuse, and again was one of the few members of his family who was actually nice to him. Paige then asked Marlon if Grace still lives in Mississippi. "They live in Montana now," said Marlon. Paige then said she'll try to get in touch with Grace and recommended that we ask her if she'd be willing to take in Marlon. She went on to say that if Marlon doesn't leave, she'd have no choice but to get a restraining order against him as well. Paige and Virgil then thanked us for throwing her a party, and left. I turned to Marlon. I was about to ask him what was he thinking coming here, causing a scene, ruining the party, ask for what he hoped to gain, but I thought to myself it was probably pointless to ask, so I didn't. Over the next few couple of weeks, Tiffany, Paige and I made contact with Marlon's Aunt Grace. Paige explained the situation to her, while Tiffany and I organized the logistics of moving Marlon's stuff to his aunt's place. Tiffany paid for the shipping of Marlon's stuff to his aunt's place. Marlon did tell us that he didn't really want to leave California as he wanted to stay close to his parents, to which I simply asked him, "Okay, if you don't move in with your aunt in Montana, who are you going to stay with and who's going to support you?" Marlon sat there looking at me and Tiffany for an awkward 10 seconds, and he finally said, "I was actually kinda hoping you'd cancel my eviction and help pay for," to which I cut him off, telling him that helping him move was the last thing I was going to help him with. I also reminded him that Paige was going to take legal action against him and get a restraining order if he didn't leave, and he has no job so he won't be able to pay for anything. Tiffany asked if Marlon's parents couldn't also just move to Montana with him. Marlon explained that's likely not going to happen as his mom and Aunt Grace hate each other, as well as Marlon telling us of how his mom is low-key terrified of Grace, although he didn't necessarily know why. On Friday, the 4th of July, it was time for Marlon to move out of my home, and he assured us he was well enough to drive up to Montana himself. I told him Tiffany and I will organize for the rest of his stuff to be shipped over to his aunt's place. Marlon thanked me and Tiffany for supporting him and apologized for his behavior as well as the problems he caused us. We accepted his apology, but I told Marlon I didn't want to do anything more to help him past this point. Tiffany also apologized to Marlon on behalf of her husband Christian, as Tiffany felt Christian was being too harsh on Marlon. So now Marlon is gone and Paige helped me clean up and organize the guest bedroom in my home, where Marlon used to stay. With him the house does feel more relaxing and peaceful. Honestly, I feel less stressed now that he's gone. Lastly, given that Paige has been more involved in these events more than I have, I agreed that if anything else new happens or if there's any new updates, I'll let Paige post about it herself. Top comments. Commenter 1, Tiffany is going to raise a Marlon if Christian doesn't overcome her enabling sad. Commenter 2, as delusional as Marlon seems, I would be surprised if he comes back, to help mommy dearest more, and keeps bankrolling her. Marlon needs some aggressive counseling. Commenter 3, I don't think Christian was harsh enough. This Marlon fella, if he's real, is the biggest dweeb I've ever heard of. These people are far more patient than I could ever be. Stories number 14. Aita for wanting better etiquette from my husband. My husband and I have been together for 20 or so years. He's a genuinely good man, great husband, loving parent, loyal friend. I feel fortunate that we are still in love after all this time. We have kind of a bestie vibe going, we really like to do things together, whether it's errands, shopping, cooking, impromptu adventures. Sometimes our teen is along with us, but sometimes not, as he has a growing social life. We had dinner out tonight, and when our enjoyable meal was over and we had paid the check, he got up from the table and walked out, leaving me, and our leftovers, at the table. I'm always slightly slower to get up. He does this a lot and it really bothers me. Am I wrong to want him to stand at the table and wait 2 seconds so we can walk out together? Also, when we are out together or as a family, he will often walk ahead of me instead of next to me. For example, when we get out of the car in the church parking lot on Sunday mornings and walk to the church, I'm often left trailing behind. I have long legs and I'm not a slow walker. I'm not ugly or weird or embarrassing, and he's not some degenerate who doesn't know better. So what is this about? When I've brought it up casually in the past, he brushes it off or deflects, but I now feel like we need to have an actual conversation about it. Aita here. And how do I go about broaching this without having to deal with an overly defensive reaction? Sum of comments. Commenter, NTA. Thankfully, if your relationship is so solid, you should be able to bring this up to your husband without offending him. Just explain how it makes you feel when he leaves without you or walks far ahead of you. He most likely isn't doing this on purpose and is either a fast walker or someone who zeroes in on the destination and loses focus of his surroundings because of it. I know people like this who don't mean to abandon people but just do it without thinking. Reply, he is totally about the destination. Thank you for this perspective. Commenter, so, I had a husband who lacked what I thought of as manners, too. If I brought it up, he declared those things were unimportant. It wasn't until I reframed it as, these are things that make me feel loved and considered, that I got through to him and he started making changes. So maybe reframe the discussion. Reply, yeah, this exactly. He does a lot of other thoughtful things. I'm starting to see it as kind of a love languages situation. Commenter, NTA. He is wrong to just leave without you. It's strange. It seems like he maybe complained about you being too slow in the past. And so he makes a point not waiting. Otherwise I don't get it. Also, is it our leftovers or your leftovers? Another possibility is if he doesn't want to wait for containers, etc. If he doesn't take his own leftovers, feel free to leave them. Reply, I'm actually not a slow walker. Slow to pop up from a dinner table, I guess. We had Indian, started with an appetizer which we finished, then shared 2 dishes and talked about having plenty left for dinner tomorrow as well. Commenter, my husband of 14 years does the same thing, because he's hard ADHD. I swear it gives him physical pain to stand still, lol. You should be able to talk to him about it, let him know it bothers you. Reply, yeah, I didn't want to publicly diagnose him, but hard ADHD is about as accurate as it gets. Update, I really appreciated all the comments, ideas, and feedback. When I brought this topic up the next day, it did not feel particularly well received and I was frustrated with myself for not being more articulate and with him for not being more open to conversation. I chalked it up as needing to be revisited in the near future. But we went away overnight with our son 2 days later and I stopped counting examples of changed behavior at 7 or 8. From checking into the hotel to walking around town, dining out twice, walking to the beach and back multiple times, we walked together, he held doors, and even said to my son at one point, hang on, we're going to wait for mom. And my dear teen, without any prompting at all, scooped up leftovers of something he and I shared at lunch before we left that restaurant. I did thank my husband repeatedly when he waited a beat for me, some verbally, some with just a smile. If this lasts, I'll be thrilled, and he does not seem to mind one bit. Stories number 15. AITB for denying my brother and best man a +1. I'm 30F, getting married in a couple of weeks and our siblings are in the wedding party. My sister and fiance's sister are my bridesmaid/MOH. My brother, 36M, is the best man. We siblings get along great. Fiancé, 34M, is my childhood friend, and brother's best friend. My brother's wife, SAL, doesn't get along with my family and we've had several fights. She has been very snooty with our family because she comes from a wealthier background. She has been rude to my parents, said mean things to my sister's kids, wouldn't let my brother visit the family over the holidays because she didn't want to. The list is endless. My brother has always defended her and even fought with the rest of the family for her. My parents try to keep things civil for the sake of the family, it's just sad. So obviously I didn't make Asael a bridesmaid, but she was invited as a guest. I even texted to tell her I hoped we could put differences aside and get together as a family on my wedding day. She texted back thanking me for the invite and telling me it would be too hard for her to attend with everything that had happened and that she couldn't pretend. I thought it was typical of her, didn't give it much thought. Yesterday my brother called me and asked if he could bring a +1 to the wedding. I asked if he meant Asael. But nope, turns out he and Asael have been separated for a few months because their marriage has been on the rocks. I think there was some infidelity on his part as well because he wanted to bring his new girlfriend to my wedding. I said hell no. I have never met this new woman and don't know how long it'll last. And he's still married to my Asael and has a child with her. I just don't think it's fair to her or my nephew to be replaced just like that in a family gathering. My nephew won't be attending the wedding, but I'd like to show him the pictures later. How would it make him feel? So I said no. My fiancé and brother both think it's unfair because he's best man and deserves a +1. He claims his marriage is basically over and he's single now. But I'm standing my ground. So am I a bridezilla? Relevant comments. Commenter 1. New girlfriend is gonna have to sit this one out. If you didn't know they were separated, neither will anyone else, and that's way too much drama for a wedding. Reply. Exactly. I'm 90% sure he cheated behind Asael's back and she affair partner. Timelines don't add up and my brother is being evasive about it. Commenter 2. Does Asael know about this woman? Reply. No idea, haven't spoken to her since. Commenter 3. Could all that happened that makes her unable to pretend be the failure of their marriage? Reply. Maybe I didn't make the connection then. A lot of other stuff had happened before that. Our last family gathering also ended in a big fight and my parents walking out of their house in tears. She has problems with our family culture, language, etc. In an ideal world she would have whisked my white passing brother away from his family and made him a part of her world. She hated it that he wouldn't cut off his family and even tried to teach his son our language. But she changed her last name to my family's last name, so I don't know if she really hates our culture that much. She is a confusing woman. I hate that woman, but doesn't justify what my brother is doing. Why does OOP think the brother cheated? Thanks, but I'm not assuming out of thin air. He said a few things that make it apparent that he either cheated on Asael or dumped Asael so that he could start dating this new woman. Just 3 months back Asael attended a family gathering as his wife. There's no way she would have done that if they were already separated. Update, spoke to my sister, she is absolutely on my side. Parents have no idea yet. I don't know what this guy was thinking, just show up with a new woman without telling them. Update 2 added to the original post next day, August 30th, 2023. Update 2, I spoke to fiancé, he admitted he's finding it hard to feel bad for my Asael because she has been so horrible to us and apparently my brother has been miserable for several months. But he agreed that the cheating part was wrong. Fiancé agrees that I have a right to be mad and disappointed in my brother. But obviously we're not going to cut him off for his poor choices, we never did. He's an idiot, but he's our idiot. Fiancé said he saw no point in getting off on the wrong foot with the new girlfriend because what if she's nice and this relationship lasts? I told my fiancé I was open to getting to know my brother's new girl in the future if she's still around then, but not like this and not right now. Brother needs to get his shit together and finalize the divorce, custody and co-parenting arrangements first. He needs to clean up his mess before creating new ones. Fiancé says he's in a difficult position because his other groomsman is also bringing a date, who we've never met before. But that guy was never married, not a part of my family, and his date's presence will not create any drama. So this situation is different. So now we've agreed that we won't invite his girlfriend to the wedding because it would be inappropriate. I told fiancé he can tell my brother that I, his sister, made this decision in my family and my nephew's best interests. And I'm ready to be the bad guy. That way he can save his relationship with his idiot of a best friend. As for me, I'll deal with my idiot of a brother later. Right now, I don't want to talk to him. Update. Hello, it has been 2 years and I was just reminded of my previous post, so here's an update. My wedding took place as scheduled in a beautiful historic church. I'm not religious, but even I must say that the ceremony was beautiful and emotional. My brother attended it as best man but without a +1. My parents got to know what was going on and wouldn't let him set foot in the church with another woman while still married. My now ex-Asael or nephew didn't attend either. I was a little sad about my nephew not attending, but I sent him his thank you gift. We learned more about why my brother's marriage imploded and it makes me so sad. It was because of religion. My parents had organized a baptism for my nephew as per Catholic tradition and my ex-Asael didn't want it because she is not Catholic. Edit for clarity, nobody told my parents at that time that XSIL had an issue, they thought she was on board. My parents had no reason to suspect this would ever be an issue because my brother and XSIL got married in a Catholic church. The same one I got married in. But turns out she was cool with it at that time because it was a beautiful historical church and she thought it was romantic. She had different feelings about the baptism. My brother mishandled the whole thing and made this baptism his hill to die on. Ultimately, it was my stupid brother's fault and failure to communicate, but our entire family got blamed for being pushy. If either of them had told this to my parents, they wouldn't have suggested that my nephew be baptized. Edit for clarity, in my culture, grandparents host and pay for the baptism party, it's a big deal. So my parents wanted to know if they needed to set money aside and start planning it. The child's parents are supposed to speak with the priest and do the religious parts. That never happened because brother's marriage had imploded at that point. My parents are not bigoted or intolerant of other faiths. My other brother and SIL are raising their kids Jewish, her mother's religion. My parents were totally cool with it because they were clear about what they wanted for their children. My brother has since divorced my ex-SIL and married the woman he was dating at that time. My new SIL is actually quite nice and gets along with the family, and is a good stepmom to my nephew. My brother has joint custody. I hope he doesn't mess up this marriage too. For what it's worth, she's an observant Catholic, so religion at least won't be an issue this time. My parents have told my ex-SIL she will always be a part of the family as my nephew's mother and she is welcome home anytime. She wants to keep her distance though, and I totally understand why. Final comments. Commenter 1. Your brother was trying to find a justification to implode his marriage. He used your nephew as an excuse while creating a situation where he wouldn't be the only one to blame. In this case he dragged your naive parents into it, while also framing your ex-sil as stubborn. You are giving your of a brother too much grace. Reply. My brother was an for how he handled several things, but she had her own issues. She was racist to our family, hated that my parents were working class, and always had mean things to say about them because they speak English with an accent. On one occasion, she even threatened to call ICE on my dad in anger. He's not undocumented, she was just being a bully. Commenter 2. Your description of her in this comment doesn't match how you described her previously, and why would your parents be so nice to a racist bully? I'm confused. Reply. Oh, we all tolerated her only because my brother was so much in love with her and we wanted them to be happy, and we all wanted to have a relationship with their child. My parents wanted their son to be happy, and if tolerating his racist wife was what it took, they decided to put up with it. She apologized for the ICE comment though and they forgave her. When someone says it's the parents' fault for pushing the baptism, they suggested it and my brother agreed to it quite enthusiastically at that time. It was for their grandchild, and there was no pushing. They had no idea this was a cause for friction between him and his wife until much later. My parents thought they were just helping with the logistics, once my brother agreed to it. Language was an issue too. My mom doesn't speak much English and kind of relied on my brother to be the translator between her and ex-SIL. Stories number 16. My 51 nephew, M12, caught stage fright that prevented him from playing piano in church, but received permission to try again from the youth pastor. His dad won't allow him to play though. I'm writing this regarding a situation that happened at church surrounding my 12-year-old nephew and a situation he told me about over the phone. Every few months, his church has something called a Youth Sunday where the youth pastor gives the sermon to the adults, and the youth band do the worship to give the regular worship team a break. The youth also do the church announcements and pass tithe baskets, and someone usually sings a song as the baskets are passed. That person was going to be my nephew, on June 15th, who was going to play a worship song on piano, and this would also be his first time playing in adult service. He is not a part of the youth band, but he's taken piano lessons for a few years. He's played in recitals, but never for as many people as their church who has 2 services with over 1,000 capacity. But when was about to play, he got nervous and started crying on the piano bench. One of the youth leaders went over to try and comfort him, but he couldn't muster the energy to try after crying/feeling embarrassed. The church was supportive and even gave him a standing ovation as the leader led him off stage, and my 12-year-old nephew called me last week to vent about the aftermath. During the week, he was angry and motivated to try again when the next Youth Sunday happened, and he even gained permission from the youth pastor to play the same song next time too. But the reason he called was because his dad said no after he relayed what the youth pastor said, and it's caused arguments between his parents because his mother thinks he should play. He said he and his mother were trying to convince him, but that he wasn't budging. And while I'm not a Christian anymore, I was raised religious, I can see the potential of an unspoken testimony when a kid overcomes his fears while potentially inspiring others, and I couldn't understand why my brother wouldn't support it. I decided to call him to understand his reasoning, and he explained he said no because it wouldn't be about God anymore. He said that his redemption should be somewhere else, like a recital that's not connected to the church. But when I tried to explain how he should be proud of his kid's motivation, he reiterated that church wasn't the place. But when I argued that the point of church was literally redemption, I also told him that others could be inspired by his son's perseverance. But he said I didn't understand and that it was none of my business. I also told him how crazy it was that I had to try and convince him to support his son, but he wouldn't budge. I agree, it's none my business. But I can't understand not wanting to support your son over some self-imposed nonsense when the youth pastor supports it too. I spoke with my nephew again following that conversation, and he told me that his dad said he would inform the youth pastor about his decision too. While I don't think there's much more I can do, would anyone involved in churches have any other suggestions, because my nephew was really disappointed, and he really wants to try again. Update post. The general consensus I received on my last post was something I originally thought of but didn't heed in the moment. I was emotional when my nephew called. He reached out to me because he couldn't get through to his parents, and I felt obliged to at least call my brother. But when people said that I was wrong to do so because it was none of my business, I was reminded of how I pushed past that thought to overstep due to my emotions. For that reason, I decided to call my brother back to apologize for telling him how to handle his family. He didn't ask for my opinion, and that was wrong of me. But when we spoke again, his tune changed from the first time when he opened up to me a little more. After I apologized for trying to insert myself into his business, he said he appreciated it and that he thought about our conversation and wanted to clarify a few things. He said he understood my urge to call him in hindsight. His son called me about a situation that wasn't my business. So in doing so, he said he made it my business. And for that reason, he wanted to clarify. He said he spoke to his son about talking to others when mom and dad say no, something he said all parents consider disrespectful, going to someone else after a parent makes a decision like asking mom for ice cream after dad said no. He also explained why he planned to say no to the youth pastor's offer to have him try again, because he needed to learn that you won't always get a second chance in life. But when I suggested that church could be the perfect place for a second chance, I tried to explain how church was supposed to be a family, and families want each other to succeed. The Bible literally states to build each other up in Christ, 1 Thessalonians 5 verse 11, and what better place to allow God to use his son's perseverance as a testimony to inspire others. Years ago, there was a Christian movie from the VeggieTales series about Jonah and how God gives second chances, and I told him that that was all his son was asking for. But he reiterated how church wasn't the place because church is supposed to be about God. But when I asked why the youth pastor gave him permission if it wasn't in God's will, he said the standing ovation his son received out of support made him upset, something he didn't say during our first call. When I asked why, he said his son didn't deserve the standing ovation because he didn't play, and he compared it to a participation trophy. He also said it was embarrassing because a few people came over after church service to encourage his son and tell him to try again next time. I tried to reason that they gave him the standing ovation because they wanted to encourage a young person in the congregation, but he said he wouldn't learn if there weren't consequences. And being told a few days later at youth group that he could try again wasn't how life usually works. So he said he was going to talk to the youth pastor, and that was pretty much it. I told him that I respectfully disagreed with his position, but that I wouldn't call him about it again because it was none of my business technically. What I did suggest was getting another opinion from someone in the church before talking to the youth pastor, but he said that there was no need. He thanked me for calling him, and that was pretty much it. As much of a missed opportunity it seems, there's really nothing I can nor should do. I hope other opportunities present itself for my nephew, and I found it interesting how I'm tried to use Christian jargon to convince my brother despite walking away years ago. The other reason I felt compelled about it was because of a coworker who has a son he often vents about. The son graduated high school with honors, and he attended community college with plans to transfer to a university afterward. He was also on the honor program in college too, but has dropped out of the community college for a plethora of reasons including addiction. It's approaching 2 years since he's been to class, and he lives with his parents while refusing to find work or pay rent. Parents are split on evicting him. I think it's unfortunate when he seemed to be rather smart. So when I see someone like my nephew call me because he feels bad about getting too scared, I believe his motivation to try again should be rewarded. But in preventing him from doing so, you could rob a lifelong memory of getting back up that he can remember/refer to years from now when life throws a different challenge at him, and I hope it doesn't stunt his growth confidence. My coworker's son was career-driven not too long ago, so you shouldn't take it for granted when your kid is motivated. I wish I would have thought to mention my coworker's son to my brother, but perhaps it wouldn't have changed his mind. Part of me feels like the embarrassment he mentioned could be a driving factor behind his decision, but I hope he doesn't value it more than his son's best interests. Commenter. Again at the church seems like a great place to overcome that stage fright. It would be best to get it over with as soon as possible. If not allowed to do it, the longer he waits, the more it gets in your head. The only way to overcome the fear of playing in front of people, is to play in front of people, and in front of forgiving people are the best way to start doing that. Denying the nephew this opportunity sounds to me like it has the potential to be very discouraging to his motivation. Replied, his motivation is something to be proud of in my opinion, and I tried to point out how it could be seen as pleasing to God in many ways too. Perseverance, getting back up from something tough, potentially inspiring someone else in the congregation who saw him get scared the first time and have the courage to come back. Like, isn't the point of church and Christianity to build each other up in Christ and the talents he gives people? Stories number 17. My 15-year-old idiot kid got his GF pregnant on purpose. I didn't plan on updating prior to the DNA test, but I can confidently say we do not need it to know the truth. We will likely still do one if Bree sticks to her story, only I will go through the courts at this point. We have a family lawyer and he has advised these updates are fine as long as I do not identify anyone by name, location etc. I had a lot of helpful messages on here and I do read them all even if I don't reply. One was from a radiographer who suggested that I look at the measurements of the baby on the ultrasound if I am able to get scan pictures and then use that to calculate if the baby was 16 weeks on that scan. I have kept that idea in mind if I ever got the chance to see the scan myself. The same Redditor also raised concerns that she only had this one scan at 16 weeks, and there wasn't a 20-week scan again 4 weeks later. All OBs would do a scan at 18 to 22 weeks. The one photo we have seen is a photo of a scan, a profile shot of the baby's face at 16 weeks, and there hasn't been another scan since then. We have been playing it safe and being very careful with how we tread around Bree, not wanting to cause any arguments. We have no mentioned this to them yet, and if by chance someone tells them via this post or they know about this post, we don't care. We have nothing to lose since the baby isn't Ollie's, and this is how I know. Bree and Ollie have many mutual friends, but only one other girl, Hannah, who is still friends with both of them from within the group. Hannah believes Ollie is the father because that's what Bree says, but she had a falling out with Bree this week. I lead to her talking to Ollie and then she sent Ollie a video that Bree sent her after the ultrasound in April. Prior to this, Bree had told her not to show him because he wasn't going to be in the baby's life by choice and all the things she was posting about deadbeat dads. The video shows multiple measurements being done and I was able to see clearly that the baby measured 19 weeks and that scan was the 20-week scan. There is no way that baby is Ollie's baby. She is due August 26th, Ollie knows all of this and is doing okay. Very angry, but he has the support he needs. What happens now we don't know, but we know the truth. June 25th. We all come to a travel arrangement. We paid for Bree to fly out and her father was paying for the ticket home. Bree was supposed to fly to us this morning and stay for 6 weeks total, flying back sometime in August. Her father's in charge of that flight. She was staying with us over these next few weeks while we do our annual July 4th family vacation for a week and then a couple more weeks back here at home for the ultrasound/blood test. This was decided together, both families, because Bree and Ollie would like to have some kind of positive experience/memories during the pregnancy, and obviously if baby wasn't his, Bree would be taken to her father's, and we would be finished with it all. But she never turned up for her flight. She texted the night before that the doctor did not recommend, she should not travel as she is at risk of preterm labor due to her age and her severe morning sickness makes her only be able to tolerate pineapple juice, so she is needing to be hospitalized and maybe even deliver early. This is on top of a group photo that included Bree, obviously pregnant in a tight tee, hugging the boy she was dating in her new town, his hand on her belly. It was quickly removed from her story when Ollie asked, I think it was intentional to make him jealous. I am done. I do not believe her or her parents. I have contacted a lawyer and therapist. I will not be updating again until I know the outcome of the DNA test that I assume will not be done until after the baby is born, since I was told today, I cannot force her to have while pregnant. If this baby is Ollie's and my grandchild, I am willing to move Bree here and have her live with us. It has no chance and will continue to ruin my son's life from afar. June 15th. I spoke to Bree's biological father, lives in this town, who had no idea about any of this. Before you come for me, there was no known DV or anything. I felt I had run out of options at this point and I just wanted a way to contact them. Bree's mother then made contact, agreed to the blood test if we paid for it. Ollie and Bree spoke again and Bree asked to come here for a holiday and have an ultrasound with him to prove dates in person. I agreed to this, but I may not be thinking straight with the stress we have all been under. She says she is 26 weeks, sent him a photo of her belly, which has grown, and told him there is no other option but him to be the father, that the ultrasound had to go by her last period date and she didn't remember, so she went by her app and it was the period before. That's why the dates are out on the scan. I asked if she had a physical booklet of pregnancy notes or something because I know from experience that they have all the confirmed information on them, but she said everything is digital with her doctor and I didn't want to push because it's not my medical info. I'm wondering if I do just fly her out here on my own terms. Her mother agreed, and do the blood and ultrasound here and put an end to it all. Update again June 3rd, Ollie's friend was able to see her Instagram through an old account, different email. I don't use Instagram enough to know what that means, but it meant they weren't blocked when they reactivated. They found the pregnancy announcement post, and if you scrolled across it showed a digital copy of the scan Bree sent us as a 16-week scan, apparently the first scan she had at the OB. That is dated April 4th and clearly says GA 19 plus 3 weeks, making an August due date I believe or very early September. This would not line up with the due date given to us but does line up with when her parents told me she was pregnant mid-April. They told us, we've had the pregnancy confirmed, and sent a photo of the printed pic which the date isn't on there. I actually think it may have been cut off the top. I haven't told Ollie this yet because I want to be sure. I am very concerned about his mental health at the moment and taking that into considerate. But unless she gave the wrong period dates and the baby measured only 16 weeks then it's not possible for it to be our son's. Also added information, her due date from what we know is September 22nd. She was here from December 20th to January 7th and saw Ollie December 21st and 22nd and January 4th and 5th. Never overnight. I asked Ollie when did this happen and he said January 4th was the only time, which makes more sense as they were in public gathering otherwise. They were at a mutual friend's birthday that night but never stayed overnight. I have had 5 kids and I know the dates are too close to figure it out that way. Ollie also said that the joke Bree made was to just see, if it happens, the pregnancy because then it's obviously meant to be and he would be able to move. To me it sounds like she had the plan a lot longer but I may be biased here. Update. Things have gone south even further. At this point husband and I have been blocked on all social media and numbers blocked but the communication with Ollie has continued. Ollie gave us Bree's parents' email address to send an email to but before using that I asked him to video chat Bree with me there and then I could ask Bree to please get her parents so I can talk to them about this and tell her that if they were going to continue to refuse then I would be blocking all contact to Ollie and communication until this is resolved. I told Ollie this before the call. At first he flipped out about it but it was this or I cut communication completely. I do think he understood that it is not okay that her parents are speaking to me through minors and he said himself he would like us to talk to each other. Bree joined the call and hung up when she saw I too was there. Ollie called back a few times and she didn't answer. She asked via text why I wanted to talk to her and Ollie told her that I wanted to speak to her mother and if we didn't resolve the communication issue then all contact would be ended until her parents made contact with us and we make a plan for the next few months, including DNA, and then birth arrangements, said that if the baby is his we will travel there for the birth and first few weeks after. He told her that I personally think it probably is his baby but I want to be sure and make sure everything is done right from the start. Well, Bree blocked him with a reply, and he is totally heartbroken, not eating, sitting in his room all day and night, not mad at me surprisingly, very, very sorry for him and to us, sad about it all and I think regretful. He even asked me if there was a way to undo it for himself. I haven't talked about signing over rights, male abortion, his father called it, because I think he's just upset right now. A mutual friend of Bree and Ollie's here in our hometown showed him a few posts she has made in the last 24 hours. Things like, "It's you and me against the world baby girl," and memes about deadbeat dads. She also announced the pregnancy which she hadn't done yet and the post had some single mother facts and quotes. Ollie's friends knew about the situation, and a few were under the impression he had dumped her and the baby, going by the posts, but when he explained that what had happened, they all rallied for him in the comments. I said not to, and now she's blocked them, and we can't see what she has posted. This is just a nightmare. I have had a plan personally, not set but something I wanted to talk to her parents about, but I don't even want to waste my time at this point. Ollie gave us Bree's parents' email address to send an email to with said plan. Basically, Bree does DNA blood test. We will pay the full $1,500 for it. If it is his baby we can book flights and plan to be there for the first month. I'll stay too with Ollie, maybe even the whole family, and then we can also work on a parenting plan and getting into mediation for a judge to sign off on it. Ollie's father and I spilt for the first 7 months of his life so we have done this before and we know the process. But at this point I think I will just leave it to settle before sending an email. Edited for update. To answer some question. She is due September around the 22nd. So no, there is no option for abortion. I don't think that or adoption ever was. Ollie admitted it was on purpose last night. Apparently, it was Bree's idea first, as a joke, that turned into a plan together. Bree's parents will only pass messages through my son and I have heard this for myself. I stood outside the door and listened to them tell him, "Tell you mother, insert info below," because I know I will just go off on her about that bullshit still. They are talking shit about me with my kid. They are appalled I would think that way of Bree when I have known her for more than half her life and do not wish to talk to me. I will not allow him to move out there alone. There are some past issues such as Bree breaking up with him twice in the last 18 months because she found someone that she liked more her new town, around August and October last year, same boy, and when it ended, she came back to Ollie. Bree is a nice girl but her behavior is toxic and has been since a child. Her mother and stepfather are nice but the relationship is unstable, the house is chaos, 9 children combined, blended family and 2/3 teens with serious mental health struggles. He would be leaving stability for chaos and no structure. I want a DNA test, I will not budge on that. I am close to cutting his contact totally at this point because they are only empowering him and reinforcing his behavior towards me and his father. His father is a man of few words. Which is unhelpful. So far he's backed everything I have said and only really chosen to say, you have the intelligence of a pear. I 30F have a child who is 15M, we'll call him Ollie plus other children aged 2, 6, 9 and 11. As you can tell by my own age I was teen parent, I was lucky and we married at 18, still married, healthy relationship, worked our way out of a very dire situation, graduated, started a trade etc., and we are comfortable, stable in all ways. This information is relevant. Ollie has been friends with this girl, we'll call her Bree since he was 7 years old. Their family used to live in the same city as us and went to the same school, same friendship group. We know her parents and are long-distance friends ourselves, not close friends but say hello when the kids are on video chat, had drinks together before. Bree's family moved to a very small town 3 states away due to rental affordability. No secret, we all have talked about the rising costs of everyday life. The cost of living in this city has risen, forcing many locals out. They moved because of that and for better job opportunities 18 months ago. Since then, Ollie has been begging for us to follow, giving us a sales pitch on cheaper housing, better paying jobs, none of which fit either of our professions, the whole works. We have said no because well, no, but even if we wanted to, our other children are in school, sports and have friends here. Selling and buying another house, finding work outside of our skill set or having to learn new skills, any normal adult would understand this, he does not. Well, fast forward to Christmas. Bree's family come back to our city for a holiday and the kids met up multiple times with each other. It was my understanding that they were always with the other kids but obviously not since Bree is pregnant and I am certain it was on purpose. He has access to condoms, I don't care for opinions on that, my access was restricted and I had him. He has had sex ed from me, my husband, school. He knows damn well how babies are made and how not to have one. Ollie now wants me to move to be with her and the baby. It's confirmed, I've talked to her parents, and I said no, I don't feel I need a reason, but he asked, you're 15, we don't have any proof at your child yet. I'm not moving us away from our lives and you aren't going alone until you're 18. We will do a DNA test, then we will look at parenting plans, and topped it off with a too bad, too sad. You made your bed, now you have to sleep in it. He took that back to Bree and now all communication between me and her parents has been cut. I'm a terrible person. My comments about the DNA test are disgusting and it's fueling my son's hate for me. He says I am keeping him from the love of his life and future baby using my own successful relationship as proof it will work out. I actually don't even know if I am right or not. I'm just really upset and feel like my life I worked really hard for has been destroyed. Stories number 18. Tree Law and MS Paint for your Sunday, Michigan. Help me convince my brother that this is worth pursuing. A contractor building a house across the street cut down 2 very large trees on my brother's property. The biggest one was a 250-year-old oak tree that was 75 inches in diameter. I don't know why my brother is reluctant to go after this contractor, but can anybody give me some links to success stories I can send him? Maybe something to show him how much this might be worth. I know from many happy hours on legal advice that he is going to need a survey and an estimate of value from an arborist. One additional wrinkle which gives me an excuse to post a gratuitous shitty MS Paint drawing is that the tree is actually on the neighbor's side of the street, but my brother's property extends across the street, so the entire street, and the tree, in this area is on my brother's property. The tree is presumably on an easement of some sort, so the city could remove it if they wanted, but there is no question that the contractor removed it, not the city. Would this change the legal situation at all? Thanks. Relevant comments. Commenter 1. The contractor has dug themselves into a huge hole. Stealing lumber plus unauthorized tree removal of that size and age. Your brother will be looking at a 6-figure lawsuit. He needs a lawyer ASAP. Commenter 2. I wouldn't be surprised if an arborist could tell you what kind of tree it was from what remains of the trunk. Reply. The stump has been ground, but in addition to the photo of the stump, my brother has photos of the tree before it was cut down. He took them, at my insistence. He's going to owe me a beer or two, after the basement for the new house was dug. He was concerned about how close it was to the tree. Commenter 3, take lots more pics, dredge up any photos you have of the before condition of the trees. Document, document, document. The other concerning thing is the orange spray paint mark on the stump. it appears to have been marked for removal. You, our brother, might do well to call the police and report the trespass, so there is a report, and place a no trespassing signs directly on the stumps themselves until this resolves. Here's the deal, this builder owner/contractor almost assuredly had to get a survey done of the property, meaning they basically knew that the trees were not on their property. Claiming ignorance in this situation is not going to fly in court. If they lawyer up and try to claim bona fide error, you're going to want to focus on the survey he had to have performed prior to building star. This will demonstrate that the act was willful. The owner-contractor here is trying to improve the value and sale price of his property at the expense of your brother's trees. Hint, an individual who will cut and remove a massive 250-year-old oak tree without permission is likely cutting corners in various areas, and may have other code compliance concerns. As a concerned neighbor, your brother could call in voicing those concerns to his local code enforcement agency, building, fire, etc. Reply, the other weirdness is that the builder is claiming he had a permit from the city. My brother's property line is also the border between two cities, I'll call them North City and South City. Bro lives in South City, new house is in North City. The builder claims he got a permit from North City to take out the tree, so no question he knew it wasn't his to take. But my brother talked to the mayor of North City, who said they discussed a permit, but none was ever issued. Even if it was, the tree is in South City, so a permit from North City would be irrelevant. Update 1. Here's a pic of the tree in its former glory courtesy of Google Street View. Thanks to you/Ali43 for the suggestion. The house in the pic has been torn down to make room for the McMansion that is being built. Update 2. The tree, now established to be a historic beb oak, in excess of 200 years old. Shitty MS Paint of rather bizarre property line situation. Slightly less shitty MS Paint. So, the mythical arborists do in fact exist. I've never seen one of their reports before, so here it is for your viewing pleasure. Page 1, page 2. TLDR, the trees are valued at almost $90,000. A lawyer has been hired. Yesterday a demand letter for $268,000 was sent to the builder who cut the trees down. Michigan allows triple damages for trees. Popcorn is in the microwave. Stay tuned. Edit, formatting. Update 3. TLDR, the case is over. My brother accepted a settlement of $89,000. Full update. Yes, friends, I'm back with an update after many long months. I did not forget about you. The wheels of justice turn slowly, but they do turn. As I said, my brother accepted a settlement. This was reached through an alternative dispute resolution, ADR, process called case evaluation that is apparently used here in Michigan. You can read more about this process here, PDF warning, but essentially both sides provide a max 20-page summary and a 15-minute oral presentation to a panel of 3 lawyers. No witnesses or evidence per se, although attachments, documents, are allowed. The panel then comes up with a dollar amount that they think the case is worth. Both sides then have the option to accept or reject the settlement and go to trial. I was hoping to be able to watch an actual tree law trial, but alas it was not to be. There is a possibility of significant penalties if you reject the settlement and then don't beat it by at least 10% in court, so I understand my brother's reasoning in accepting the settlement. It turns out, not unexpectedly, that the settlement will be coming from the contractor's insurance company, so hopefully collection will not be an issue. Another outcome of this case is that my brother, who is not a Redditor, is now using the phrase, pound sand, in casual conversation we did at Reddit. Earlier Bola thread with some more information. Relevant comments. Commenter 1, did you get your case of beer? Reply, ha. Not yet, but he hasn't gotten his money yet either, so I'll give him some slack. Plus I know where he lives. Update, I spoke too soon. I'm not home right now. My brother just texted me this pic of my front porch. Additional information from reply, I just wanted to address a couple of issues that have come up in the discussion. The new house is already built. The photos all show the old house. The contractor bought the old house and several around it, tore them down, built new spec houses, and is selling them, maybe already sold. The contractor owned the property next door when the tree was cut. The new house was legally built as far as setbacks, etc. No argument there. There is no question that the contractor knew where the property line was. My brother went to planning commission and city council meetings and had direct contact with the contractor as well, specifically to make sure these trees were protected. Stories number 19. AITA for hitting my boyfriend after what he did. I, 21F, was at my boyfriend's, 24M, apartment earlier today and making us lunch while he was gaming with his friends online. He has this alarm that reminds him to move his car, to avoid parking tickets. I don't know if this is just a European thing. The alarm kept going off every few minutes, really loud, and he kept ignoring it. After the 6th time, I went and stood in front of the TV and told him to either turn off the phone or actually go move the car. I can't drive by the way. As I walked back to the kitchen, I heard him say, I'll be back. This BCH is getting on my nerves. I've never had anyone call me like that. I walked right back over, slapped him, then yelled that we were supposed to have time together, not him gaming and calling me a slur. He didn't say anything, just went into the bathroom and started blasting music on his phone. I turned off the stove and went back to my place. That was about 4 hours ago. We haven't messaged or spoken since. He is my first boyfriend, so I really don't know what to do. Was I the asshole? My dad always raised me to never take crap from people, but that was more about school bullies. Stories number 20. Aita for refusing to pick up a friend at the airport because she booked a flight that arrived at 3 a.m. So this last week, I had agreed to pick up a friend/neighbor at the airport around 10 p.m. She has physical restrictions and does not drive. She also maxes out her luggage even though she was only going back to Philly for 2 weeks. She always has 2 large check-in bags, as close to the 50 pounds max limit as possible, and 3 carry-on bags. She likes to stay up late, so always books the latest flight to arrive back in town. In hindsight, I also realize that there are lots of crazy drivers around the airport in Vegas at night. The last 3 times I have gone to the airport, I have almost gotten into accidents with drivers cutting me off when heading to the airport. So this last Tuesday, she was set to return back at 9:50 p.m. From the time she lands, it usually takes her close to an hour to get her bags and get to the pickup area, so we are talking 10:50 p.m. before she is ready for pickup. I asked her to text me when the flight took off so I would know it's on time. She texts me that the flight is delayed and her flight sits on the ground for at least 2 hours. Finally, around 1 a.m. Philly time, she tells me the flight is cancelled due to weather. She says they got off and there is a long line to reschedule flights and there is an app she can use. I tell her that I don't want to be driving to the airport after 10 p.m. to pick her up. There are a few flights much earlier than her current one. She texts me back that she has rebooked for a 9:20 departure and arrival at 11:50 p.m. I remind her that I don't want to be driving around after 10 p.m. and that it would take her an hour to get out of baggage claim. She tells me that her bags were already sent and she might be out around 12:30 a.m. instead. I told her I would not be coming out at 12:30 a.m. to pick her up. As it turns out, her flight was delayed again and left at 1 a.m. Philly time, and arrived at 3 a.m. local time. I told her to call Uber and she needed a credit card to set up an account. Her reply was, I didn't bring a credit card with me, who does that? So does that make me an AH for not agreeing to pick up someone at 3 a.m. instead of 9:50 p.m.? Stories number 21. Aita for telling my family to get someone other than the family fuck up, me, to babysit since I'll never be good for anything. I'm 17M, the family fuck up if you ask anyone in my family, including my parents, my siblings, and their spouses. They always saw me as that. And I am clumsy and struggle with coordination, etc. But 3 years ago we found out why when I was diagnosed with dyspraxia. Suddenly all the struggles I had made sense, but my parents made it into the biggest negative because they saw it as confirmation that I'd never go anywhere in life. The guys in our family are all physically active guys who work construction. That's expected for all the guys. I always knew it could never be me, and they always thought until my diagnosis that they could shame me into doing better. Once my diagnosis was official, they didn't see me as being worth the effort of that even. Every time I hurt myself as a kid, they were on me for not paying attention or not listening. When school sent home emails and stuff that my handwriting was awful or that I couldn't follow certain instructions well. Or when I got hurt at school using scissors or something. They were always so angry and they'd punish me and tell me I needed to do better. If I said I tried my best, they didn't believe me and they'd say all you had to do was see the mess that I wrote or drew or cut out. I was 7 or 8 when someone first suggested I might have dyspraxia, and my parents rejected the idea and said I was just being careless. They kept getting angry about the mistakes I'd make or my lack of coordination. My siblings loved to make fun of me for that stuff too. I also had problems with speech sometimes, and that was another thing my parents would accuse me of being too lazy to get right, and my siblings would mock me relentlessly for. More than once I was told I'd never be good at anything or for anything. I was told nobody would trust me to tell them the time because I could find a way to fuck it up. My siblings loved calling me the family fuck up and they said I embarrassed everyone. That even our grandparents wanted as little as possible to do with me. Oh, and when I got my diagnosis they said I was too stupid to walk in a straight line or use scissors and said I should change my name to Ralph Wiggum. In the last few years my parents have become grandparents to 6 kids. Now that some of them are a little older and my siblings with kids miss being able to go out with their spouses on weekends, they want a babysitter, and even for family get-together they'd like someone to babysit. Everyone said since I was the youngest I could do it. But that pissed me off and I said no. They didn't expect it and told me it wasn't my decision, and I said it isn't theirs either. I said to get someone other than the family fuck up to babysit since I could never be good for anything. My parents told me I was being given a chance to prove myself and I should if I believe I'm capable of being more than a burden. I said they were out of luck because I'm just too Ralph Wiggum for that. My parents didn't get it. My siblings were like, you can't take a joke. Everyone's mad, but I think they're all a little too afraid to force the babysitting now. Stories number 22. Aita for telling my parents me and mom will never meet my stepsister's baby. I, 17M, was 2 when my mom married my stepdad and my stepsister, 24F, was 9 at the time. My mom adores my stepsister and as long as I can remember she's always said she had 2 kids and my stepdad claims he has 2 as well. My stepsister never called mom her mom or parent though. Like she'd always bring up that she had a dad to ask, and I know she used to say she had a parent not parents. My mom and stepdad were kinda oblivious to that. Or they imagined she'd grow to feel differently over time, I'm not really sure. She moved out when she was 19 and we don't see her much. My mom sends care packages and calls and texts and invites her over. But we don't see her really. She had a baby 7 months ago and my stepdad has met his grandchild. But funny coincidences keep happening and she's only ever free when mom's busy or has plans and when I'm not around, though I really don't care. My mom and stepdad have tried super hard to find a time for mom, and me, to meet and spend time with my stepsister and the baby. But it has never been the right time. Like ever. She always has reasons she can't FaceTime mom too, but she can do it when my stepdad asks her when he's on his own. There were times she invited my stepdad over, but of course mom was at work, and same thing when she could randomly stop by was when he'd be home alone. He's seen the baby multiple times now. Yet she's always busy every single time they try to make actual plans. There was even a time she asked my stepdad to get diapers for the baby and told him they could have lunch together. He couldn't, but mom did it instead because she was free and she thought she'd get a few minutes to see her in the flesh. But when she went to drop them off, my stepsister had to run somewhere and she told mom to drop them by the door. I'm aware of everything enough to know that she can probably keep this up for years and that there will likely always be excuses made. I don't think we'll ever meet her baby. And if we do, she won't be a baby anymore. Maybe a middle schooler or something. The other night my parents were brainstorming ideas for everyone to get together. They asked me if I could take a weekend off of work to make it happen, and I said I really wanted to keep working and saving. My stepdad told me that's a weekend my stepsister is free and we could all spend time together and meet the baby. I told him the second we all do that she's going to suddenly not be available, and I think that should be so obvious right now. They told me that was very pessimistic. I asked how she is always so conveniently free when he's alone and why her plans seem to change on the regular when it comes to all of us being free to meet the baby. They said life's busy when you have a newborn. I brought up FaceTime and they said sometimes you're just not able to do that. Mom asked me what I was saying and I told her we'll never meet that baby and that it's kind of clear to me given everything. They looked so hurt and I told them if my stepdad said he was free on X day and we were busy she would be available super fast. Then he admitted he did have plans with my stepsister when mom's going to be out of town. My parents still didn't see it and they were pretty annoyed that I had the view I do. I don't think it's wrong, but maybe it's not my business to really say stuff like this. Stories number 23. I, F31, believe my husband, 33M, is having an affair. Edit, anytime I refer to the coworker, he is supposed to be a male. Hello, I have been with my husband for 15 years, married for 3. We have 2 children, 4 and 2. He has begun working 5 hours away on the weekends for over a year now. He has a teaching position and it is great extra income since I am a stay-at-home mom, and am completely financially dependent on him. I believe he's having an affair with a woman in this city he's working in, but he is denying it heavily. This is what has happened over the last year, and tonight, that has really solidified my hunch, but again I have no concrete proof, so please let me know what you think. 1 year ago I found a woman's shirt wrapped in the arm sleeve of his sweater in his luggage after he came home from his trip. He did have a friend with him and claims his friend hooked up with someone and has no idea how it got there. I felt extremely uneasy about that. Why was it in his sweater? A few people began commenting on all of his videos. He posts YouTube content and Instagram content, and after I clicked the profiles, they are both from that city and he is also following them. I get an email notification saying a woman has joined our Google family and is using our YouTube Premium. Of course it's the girl commenting / liking everything for months from that city. I lost my shit and he cried saying I'm making things stressful and that he's out here working for our family and she is a friend of the guy he is working with. He also begins staying at this guy's house for free accommodations, since he has a 3-bedroom, and said it was okay. A few months ago I found a coffee cup in the back of our car with his name on it, a mocha latte, which he would never get, he only drinks black coffee, and lipstick all over it. I question him and he claims he has no clue where it came from. At this point I told him I'm struggling to trust him and believe he is having an affair on me. He breaks down crying again saying he is not. Still can't tell me where the cup came from. Says he ordered coffee for his coworker and himself. This is the final series of events that have me spiraling. My 4-year-old underwent a series of tests at a hospital and as a treat my husband said he'd take him to the city because our 4-year-old has been begging to go. He has a great time, stays at a high-rise condo that my husband said his coworker invited them to stay at. They come home and my husband sends me a bunch of really cute photos of things they did. My husband goes back to work the next day, stupid to take our 4-year-old and come back just to leave the following day. I didn't understand that part, but wasn't going to spoil it for my 4-year-old. Husband says his coworker is getting a new phone contract and that he needs a new phone so is going to pay out the $350 he owes. I say great, he did need one. He comes home and I find a handwritten note in our car about a phone plan, including how much it is per month, and a number registered to that city. It was woman's handwriting. Again, he has no clue where it came from. I call the number anonymously and it was declined, goes to voicemail, but the voicemail is automated so it whose number it is. Here's the finale. I'm putting our 4-year-old to bed tonight and he was going through my pictures. Pulls up the pics from his trip with Daddy and starts telling me all about it. He says him, Daddy, and Mickey were doing everything together. There's a photo of my son and this man who I thought this whole time was Mickey. I said, oh, is this Mickey? Did you guys have fun? He tells me, no mom, Mickey is a girl. I ask whose house they stayed at and he told me Mickey's house. You guys know the girl I was concerned about? Guess what her middle name is on her Instagram handle? You got it. Mickey. Fuck, I've been shaking, I'm disgusted. Do all of these add up? Stories number 24. Why are my eyes so dilated? Picture of an eye with a dilated pupil difference of the other eye. Is this normal? Woke up today and I honestly can't tell you whether they were as dilated as this or not in the morning as I wasn't really paying attention, but by the evening, as I was in the bathroom I noticed how freaking dark my eyes were and how huge my pupils are. The only thing I've been feeling have just been headaches. What do I do? I also attached a pic of my eyes, normal, a picture taken not too long ago. Also sorry if this isn't the best sub to put it in. Consensus. Go to the hospital now. Update, I'm alive thanks to y'all. Shortly after everyone was telling me to phone 999, I decided to ring 111 and the lady immediately sent an ambulance over that picked me up and took me to the nearest hospital. They quickly gave me an MRI or CT scan, I'm not sure which one, sorry, and a few minutes passed and suddenly a load of people were rushing in. Turned out I had a blood clot in my brain that was pushing onto a nerve which made my eyes like that. They quickly put me on blood thinners and am currently still in the hospital and will be for a few days, they said. The doctor said if I had called 111 any later, I probably would have had a stroke, and since I was alone there was a very real chance I would have possibly died. I just wanted to thank y'all as I genuinely was planning to sleep this off. I don't know whether I still would be here if it weren't for you all screaming at me to go to the ER. Thank you for all you guys do. My parents weren't thrilled after I told them I wasn't planning on going to the ER, until everyone on Reddit told me so. Update 2. Just popping in again to update you guys, and to thank everyone sending kind messages. I can't answer each one but I have read them all, genuinely thank you so much. You all are so sweet. Now with the update, I had high levels of homocysteine, around 24, I don't know what the unit of measurement is, I just know that it was 24, and deficiencies with a few vitamins, mainly one called folic acid and B6. I also had high levels of estrogen even though I don't take any contraceptives or anything, but we are pretty sure it was caused by fenugreek tea, which I drank often. So if anyone reading this is drinking fenugreek tea or anything fenugreek, please be careful. We'll definitely have to stop drinking that. He said this combination is what likely caused the blood clot to form. He said I will most likely have some damage to the nerve, meaning my eyes will just react slower to light changes or my eye might be a little more droopier, but overall I'm so grateful to be walking away with super minor things. I could have easily got permanent brain damage. I will now be on supplements, and blood thinners for a few months. There's a possibility I might have to take BT for the rest of my life, but I will take that over paralysis any day. I also realized how stupid I was, because I'm located in the UK and always thought that if you call an ambulance, you had to pay a fee like in America. I've never been in a situation where I've had to call 999/111 for myself or someone else, so this was just my assumption. I was under the impression that general healthcare and the ER was free, just the ambulance wasn't, that's why I was so hesitant to call at first. You should have seen my face when I googled how much the ambulance costs in the UK only to see free. I also learned what an aneurysm is, which is freaking me out so much because what do you mean you can just have a headache and then never wake up again? I'm just thankful I didn't have that because I would have been dead long before this post was even made. Overall, I have learnt a lot of new things in this whole experience, and it still doesn't really feel real, but I'm very grateful to still be here. Thank you guys. Comments. Commenter. I'm glad you're okay. I was wondering what you drank fenugreek tea for. Reply. My mum drank it as she said it was healthy and good for you, so I did the same, and it made me smell like literal maple syrup when I would sweat. I also in general loved the taste. Stories number 25. My fiancé keeps calling me starter wife as a joke, and I don't find it funny anymore. So my 29F fiancé, 31M, has this joke where he calls me his starter wife. It started maybe a year ago when we were watching some reality show where a guy traded his first wife for someone younger. He turned to me and said, "Don't worry, you're only my starter wife. I'll get it right the second time." I laughed, uncomfortably, but he never stopped. He says it in front of friends. At a dinner party, don't let her choose the wine, starter wife doesn't have long to learn taste. At his niece's birthday, imagine her trying to parent. Good thing she's just the trial run. I've told him, more than once, that I hate it. That it makes me feel replaceable. He always says I'm too sensitive or it's obviously a joke. Last week, we had dinner with his parents. His mom was asking about our honeymoon ideas, and he goes, wherever the starter wife wants. She's earned at least one vacation before I trade her in. His mom actually gasped. I started crying and left the table. Now he's acting like I embarrassed him. Says I made a scene and his joke was harmless. But it doesn't feel harmless when you hear it enough times and start wondering if he means it just a little. Is this a red flag, or am I really being dramatic like he says? Stories number 26. Aita for refusing to protect my brother from the consequences of his actions. My younger brother, 15M, is autistic. My parents drilled it into me since we were little that he'd need me to protect and stand up for him because the world doesn't understand people like my brother and their struggles. But really the only struggles he has is how he talks to people in general. He doesn't have a hard time around groups, noise or anything like that. He has no sensory problems or issues learning or doing what he likes. He's just very entitled and thinks he's so great and should get what he wants. He thinks the people he likes should like him back, and if he wants to be friends with you then you need to be friends with him, and when someone doesn't want to be his friend he's so aggressive about it. And he turns into a bully. He's also a jerk when he has a crush and the girl doesn't reciprocate. Like he has called girls B** cheese if they didn't like him back, and he calls others S** uts if they end up with boyfriends not him. There was a kid who he really bullied too because my brother wanted to be his friend, but he was so aggressive about it and the kid didn't want to be friends back. So he started tripping him up whenever he saw him, and he tried to embarrass him in class, would follow him around and call him unintelligent and all kinds of stuff. This kid had a stutter and my brother would mock him for not talking right. My parents tried to defend him to the school, but the school was like, no, he deals with consequences. But this kid has a brother, and ever since school ended for summer and my brother started at a camp, he's had to deal with the kid's brother. The kid's brother has started bullying him back and even called him a freak who needs to be locked up and kept away from others. My parents were horrified, but I wasn't. I kinda agree because he gets so bad about being rejected and even gets physical. My parents wanted me to intervene and protect my brother, but I said these are the consequences of his actions and I won't protect him from them. I told them I won't defend someone like him. They said I'm 17, almost an adult, and I should be looking out for those who are vulnerable like my brother. Stories number 27. Aita for taking my friend's job after she was fired for inappropriate conduct with an employee. I, 35F, have been friends with Sarah, 37F, for 14 years. About 8 months ago, she asked me to leave my long-term job to work with her at a new restaurant where she was GM. I took a pay cut to join her. Soon after, I learned she was involved with another employee, Abby, 32F, while still in a long-term relationship. Abby was also in a relationship with her boyfriend at the time. Sarah confided in me, and I urged her to end things with her partner before pursuing Abby. Eventually, both Sarah and Abby left their partners, but Abby made it clear she only wanted something casual, she was just starting to explore her sexuality. Despite this, Sarah became obsessed and emotionally volatile, repeatedly cycling between loving Abby, resenting her, and missing her ex. At work, she became increasingly unstable, crying, snapping, even throwing things. As I got to know Abby better, she shared that she felt pressured and taken advantage of by Sarah. We compared notes and realized Sarah had been sending both of us strange, jealous messages. I saw messages that were clearly manipulative and harassing. Meanwhile, Sarah kept lying to me about Abby. I distanced myself. Sarah's behavior worsened, and after several employee complaints and more erratic outbursts, she was fired. She'd told the owner months earlier that Abby was harassing her, which wasn't true. Abby eventually showed the owner some of Sarah's messages, and that was the final straw. Sarah told me she left for personal reasons, and didn't mention the truth, even to me. Despite everything, I kept checking in on her out of concern. Recently, the owner asked me to help with the bar program, not management, just new cocktails. When Sarah found out, she messaged, "You're taking over the bar, I hear. You cool with that?" "Yeah, I guess. Someone has to. Are you okay with it?" We're the perfect person to do it. Good luck, my friend." Then 2 hours later, "Please take all my drinks off the menu. Don't text me again please, as I won't as well." Am I the asshole here? Stories number 28. Aita for finally telling my husband's mom to back off my cooking. So here's the deal. My husband and I am 24F, he's 26M, recently moved into a small rental house in Jersey. Nothing fancy, but we're trying to make it our own. His mom lives like 15 minutes away, and she drops by a lot. Way more than I'd like, but whatever. Here's where it gets bad. Every single time she's over, she says something about my cooking. Like I'll make something from scratch, I'm talking full meal, hours of prep, and she'll say stuff like, "Oh, it's a little salty, huh?" Or "My son usually prefers it softer than this." Last week I made this roast chicken with garlic mashed potatoes. It wasn't burnt. It wasn't dry. It was honestly one of the best things I've made. She takes one bite and goes, "It's okay, next time, maybe add lemon. Or butter. Or both." Then she basically pushes her plate away like it's fast food she didn't ask for. I've tried to brush it off for months. I've tried smiling. I've tried asking her for recipes like I care. Nothing works. She always finds something wrong, and it's always in this fake sweet tone like she's helping. But it doesn't feel helpful. It feels like I'm being picked apart. So I snapped. I told her, flat out, "Can you just let me cook in peace for once?" Not even yelling. Just tired. Defeated. She acted all shocked. Like I was the one who ruined the night. My husband didn't say anything. He just sat there like a statue, probably hoping it would all go away. Now she won't come over. She sent a passive-aggressive text saying she won't interfere anymore. And my husband says I was too harsh and I should have just ignored it like before. I don't think I was rude. I didn't curse her out. I didn't insult her back. I just asked to be left alone in my kitchen. But now it's like I'm the villain. So, tell me. Stories number 29. Aita for refusing to add my mom to my location sharing even though I'm her child. I'm 25 and moved out of my parents' house 3 years ago. I have a good job, pay my own bills, live safely in a decent neighborhood, and I'm not in any trouble. My mom recently got an iPhone, she's always been Android, and discovered the Find My Friends app. She asked me to turn on location sharing, so she knows I'm okay. I said I didn't feel comfortable doing that. It felt invasive, especially since I don't live at home anymore and I'm not a teenager. She kept pushing, saying it's normal now and all the other moms have their kids' locations. I told her if there's an emergency, she can always text or call. I don't need to be tracked 24/7. She got upset and said I was being secretive, dramatic, and probably hiding something. She then tried guilt-tripping me by saying, "You'll understand when you're a parent." Now my dad and even my aunt are chiming in, saying I'm being ungrateful and should give her peace of mind. I think it's wild that I'm being expected to hand over that kind of access just because I'm her kid. It's not like I've ever done anything reckless or dangerous. I just don't want someone watching where I am every second of the day. It's about privacy, not rebellion. Stories number 30. Aita for walking out after my boyfriend embarrassed me in front of his whole family over rice. I have been dating my boyfriend for about a year now. He's sweet most of the time, but he has this weird habit of trying to act all macho or alpha whenever he's around his family. I've met them a few times before. They're polite, nothing too intense, but I'm still a bit shy around them because I didn't grow up close to a big extended family like he did. Anyway, last weekend his parents hosted a big family lunch. His cousins were there, aunts, uncles, even a few older relatives. I tried my best to be helpful. I set the table, brought dessert, made polite small talk. You know, trying to make a good impression. During lunch, one of his cousins jokingly asked, "Your girlfriend's really pretty, but can she cook?" Everyone laughed. I laughed too and said something like, "I try. I make a pretty good adobo, at least." And then my boyfriend, completely serious, goes, "Yeah, but she can't even cook rice properly." Then he adds, in front of everyone, "The first time she cooked for me, the rice was so soggy I thought it was soup." Everyone started laughing. Like, a lot. I tried to laugh it off, but honestly, I felt so small. It didn't feel like light teasing, it felt like he wanted to embarrass me. Even his uncle said something like, "That's a red flag right there." I sat there awkwardly while the joke kept going for like 5 more minutes. My face was literally burning. After lunch, I pulled him aside and told him I didn't appreciate what he said. His response: "You're too sensitive. It was just a joke." I didn't yell. I didn't make a scene. I just quietly picked up my things and told him I was heading home. Later, he texted me saying I was rude for leaving like that and that I made things awkward. He said I embarrassed him in front of his family, but like, I wasn't the one who turned a private moment into a family roast session. So yeah, now I'm wondering. Aita for walking out after he publicly humiliated me over rice. Stories number 31. Aio for not wanting to be a bridesmaid after being handed a weight loss plan by the bride. I, 28F, was recently asked to be a bridesmaid for my college best friend's wedding. I was genuinely touched, until she sent us our wedding prep kits. Inside mine, a diet plan, a motivational water bottle, and a note that said, "Let's all look snatched for the big day. You got this." I was floored. I'm a size 12, healthy, active, and not at all interested in losing weight for anyone, much less to fit into her aesthetic. I texted her privately, trying to be civil, "Hey, I'm not comfortable being handed a diet plan. I'd rather not be in the bridal party if my appearance is an issue." She responded, "Oh my God, don't be so sensitive. I gave one to all the girls. It's about looking cohesive, not shaming anyone." Except, turns out only I and one other bridesmaid, who's also mid-size, got that version of the kit. I bowed out and now I'm being labeled the dramatic one in our group chat. She even told mutual friends I quit over a water bottle. AIO for standing up for myself and saying no. Stories number 32. Aita for not eating my husband's pancakes. My husband has special chocolate pancakes that are his signature dish. They're delicious, but preparing them in white chocolate sauce plus other stuff for them takes a long time, so he usually only makes them for special occasions, birthdays, holidays, family dinners. Again, they are wonderful, delicious. But they've also become a fight between us. My husband thinks I eat too much of them and don't give others, our children and him, the opportunity to eat them. I think he only craves them when they're gone. So after the last argument and hearing that I ate most of them again, I decided that I would only eat them when my husband eats them and only in the same quantity. If he eats 2, I will eat 2 too, etc. That was in April. Since then, we've had 2 birthdays and 1 family game night. I haven't eaten any pancakes since. Today my husband threw out the pancakes from game night. They were no longer edible. Throwing them away, he came to the conclusion that it was my fault. He said I was just wasting food. I reminded him that he could eat it too. He said then that what I was doing is petty. Stories number 33. Aita for telling a guy to shut up during a job interview. I was interviewing this guy for a very good software engineering position. He passed the first round, and both I and everyone involved in the second round really liked his resume and experience. On paper, he had everything we were looking for, and honestly, this looked like a life-changing opportunity for him. Then he shows up, very serious and not smiling at all. I'm used to that in tech interviews, and I understand it can be an intimidating environment. We did a round of introductions, and then he opened the interview by saying, "Let me tell you a little bit about myself." We said, "Okay, go for it." He started talking about his personal and professional background. After about 3 minutes, I jumped in to ask a follow-up question based on something he mentioned. He replied, "I will answer, just give me a moment," and continued talking. A coworker jumped in with another question, and he said the same thing to her. At this point, we were kind of looking at each other, but decided to let him continue and give him the benefit of the doubt. But after more than 5 minutes, I jumped in again with another question. I had to talk over him to do it. He finally paused and answered, but in such a long-winded way that he ended up veering into another topic. My coworker asked another question, and the same thing happened. At this point, I was ready to end the interview. I tried to politely wrap it up several times, but he was unable to read the room and just kept talking. I finally raised my voice slightly and said something like, "Thank you very much for sharing your background. In the interest of time, I'd like to ask if you have any questions for us. This is standard protocol and helps us prepare answers for future interviews." He asked a question about the team. As I was answering, he raised his finger and interrupted to talk more about his background. I let it go. Then he asked another question, which my coworker started to answer, but again, he spoke over her to talk about himself. I tried once more to interrupt politely, but he kept talking. At that point, I was done. I said, "John, you really have to shut up and listen. He was surprised, as was my coworker, but he finally stopped talking. I continued, you walked into this room with a 99% chance of getting the job. Now that chance is 0. The only reason is because, in less than 15 minutes, you've demonstrated that you don't have the capacity to listen at all. So I'm telling you now, you're not getting the job. But if you take anything away from this interview, let it be this: no matter how good you are technically, if you can't listen, you'll never excel in this career. He apologized and said, can we start again? I replied, you had your chance. Best of luck in your future interviews. Make sure you listen. Looking back, no, I could have handled that differently, but I still feel bad for the guy. Stories number 34. You are too smart for a girl. About a year ago, I was riding my scooty with my husband sitting behind me, returning home from the grocery store. A man came speeding from the side and crashed into us. It was clearly his fault, we verified through CCTV. But instead of saying sorry, he started shouting at us. But surprisingly not at me, at my husband. Why didn't you teach her how to ride properly? He asked. He just automatically assumed that I didn't know how to drive and blamed my husband. A crowd gathered in seconds. No one asked what happened. They just looked at me and decided I was the one who messed up. Comments like, she must have panicked, poor girl, please forgive her, were passed. I understand some people were trying to defuse the tension, but still, the man even tried to intimidate and get money from us. But he eventually backed off and left. What they didn't know was I've been riding for 8+ years. I taught my husband how to ride after we got married, and I was driving that day because he was still learning. But none of that mattered. Since I was a woman, it was enough to assume I was in the wrong. Luckily the CCTV evidence showed the latter. But it's a local spot, I cross it almost every day, and so I get reminded of this moment constantly. What's funny is, in India, it's assumed that girls learn better, more studious, more patient, more focused than boys. But when it comes to actually trusting our decisions, whether it's driving or taking our own life decisions, the same people suddenly hesitate and doubt our capability. It's like we're expected to know more, but never take charge. Not for men though. Sometimes I wonder if I'm just in the wrong crowd. Apart from my husband and parents, people rarely take my knowledge or opinions at face value. They don't argue with me, but they patronize me. And it's very exhausting. It's like I have to prove everything in situations where a man is believed without question. Even when I come prepared, I'm met with a slightly amused, condescending look, as if I had done something smart that they didn't expect me to do. As a girl, like a child just said something unexpectedly smart. As if what I said was impressive for me, not just impressive. When someone calls your opinion cute, or claps a little too hard when you get something right, but not because it's amazing, but because they didn't expect you to say it. It's not always loud. But it still puzzles me. Maybe they mean well, but it has chipped away at my confidence for years. At least until I just stopped listening to people's opinions altogether. Apparently, it's called benevolent sexism. This is less prevalent in Tier 1 cities, but is still present nonetheless. And it made me wonder, to this day, how many women go through this every day, being more capable, more careful, yet still treated like they're clueless, just because they are women and they are not expected to be smart. Stories number 35. MOH got drunk and confessed to be in love with my fiancé, gets angry because she's uninvited. Need to vent. To start off, and before I get attacked, she's been uninvited because she told me to my face, in front of several family members and friends, that he could have done better. She has only met my fiancé once in her life, and I'm 100% sure of this. Here's what happened. We announced our engagement to my family and friends 2 months ago, but I had a family party to celebrate with some close friends and family members, the MOH and the bridesmaids, as well as some cousins, aunts, my mom, etc. The girls made lots of delicious cocktails, we played some games, and everyone was having fun until MOH started getting dizzy on her +5 Jello shot. And Miss Ma'am starts getting wild. Can't stop laughing. No one knows what she's laughing at, but we all laugh anyway. All of a sudden she goes off about how lucky I am, how she never thought her gamer, alternative, weird friend would get married, and how my fiancé is probably out of my league, so it's 100% luck, you hit jackpot. She starts praising the man, we're all like, you, trying to get her some water so she can sit down and shut up. Cousin starts getting really angry, calls her out for saying those things, so they start screaming at each other. I'm trying to call her a cab so she can leave before my family stones her. My mom finally asks her to stop. She says something like, Jackie, you don't want people to get the wrong idea. I don't think you're meaning to say what you're saying right now. But Jackie just won't shut up. And she says, well, if I've been there, the story would have been different. My fiancée and I met on the last year of college. She went to college overseas for 4 years, which is why they've only met once for like 30 minutes. And that's when I exploded and told her she wasn't coming to the wedding anymore. Not if she's going to say all those things to me, in my own house. I know she was drunk, but I just can't forget what she said. Some of the bridesmaids feel really bad for her and are asking me to let her be part of the wedding party. I'm not sure if I'm wrong or not. She hasn't talked to me since that night, but we've been friends for many years, so I feel like maybe I could talk to her about it. It's just weird. I was thinking of letting her come to the wedding as a guest, but the anger with which she says those words won't leave me alone. Thoughts? Stories number 36. AIO for blocking my coworker after he made me uncomfortable at work. 24F, work at a marketing agency and there's this guy Tom, 32M, who sits in the cubicle next to mine. For the past few weeks he's been acting really weird around me and making me super uncomfortable. It started small. He would always offer to walk me to my car after work even though I never asked. When I said no thanks he would say things like, "A pretty girl like you shouldn't be walking alone." I tried to be polite and just said I was fine but he kept insisting. Then he started bringing me coffee every morning without me asking. When I told him he didn't need to do that he said, "I just want to take care of you." That made me feel really weird but I didn't want to cause drama at work. The worst part was last week. I was working late and most people had gone home. Tom came over to my desk and started rubbing my shoulders without asking. I immediately moved away and told him not to touch me. He said, "Sorry, I was just trying to help you relax." I was so uncomfortable that I packed up and left right away. After that I started avoiding him as much as possible. I would take different routes to avoid his desk and eat lunch at different times. But he started texting me on my work phone asking why I was being distant and if he did something wrong. Yesterday he cornered me in the break room and said we needed to talk. He told me he could tell I was upset and that he just wanted to be friends. When I said his behavior made me uncomfortable he got defensive and said he was just being nice and that I was overreacting. I told him I needed space and to please leave me alone. He said fine but seemed really angry about it. Later that day he sent me a long text saying he was hurt that I would think badly of him and that he never meant to make me uncomfortable. I ended up blocking his number because I was tired of dealing with it. Now some of my coworkers are saying I was too harsh and that he's a nice guy who just doesn't understand boundaries. They think I should have talked to him more before cutting him off, but I tried to set boundaries and he kept pushing them. The shoulder rubbing thing really crossed a line for me. I shouldn't have to explain to a grown man that you don't touch people without permission. AIO for blocking him instead of trying to work it out. Should I have given him more chances to change his behavior? Stories number 37. AITA for refusing to match lifestyles with my friend even though she's struggling financially. 29F, recently got a remote promotion at work. I won't pretend I'm rich, but I'm in a good place. I can afford to eat out sometimes, travel occasionally, and I recently moved into a nicer apartment after years of sharing a place with roommates. One of my closest friends, Becca, 31F, hasn't been as lucky. She lost her job during COVID, bounced between gigs, and is now working retail part-time while doing DoorDash. We've been friends since college, and I care about her, but things have been getting weird lately. Every time we hang out, she makes these little comments. If I say I tried a new restaurant, she'll go, "Must be nice to afford that." If I post a vacation photo, she texts, "Living the rich girl life, huh?" It started off as jokes, but now it feels constant. One time I offered to treat her to dinner, and she said, "Only fair, since you're the one with a real job." A few weeks ago, I invited her and a couple of friends over to my new place for a small dinner. Becca walked in and immediately said, "This is what selling your soul to corporate America buys you." She said it half laughing, but it totally killed the vibe. After dinner, she cornered me and asked if I'd consider scaling back some of my plans, like not picking pricier restaurants or group outings that she has to say no to. I told her I never expect anyone to spend money they don't have, and she's always welcome to opt out, no judgment. But I also said I wasn't going to hide or downplay the things I've worked hard for. She got really quiet and left early. Now she's barely talking to me. A mutual friend told me Becca feels abandoned and thinks I'm flexing my lifestyle instead of being a good friend. I feel stuck, like I either downplay my life or risk losing a friendship. AITA for refusing to match lifestyles with my struggling friend. Stories number 38. To fool by taking Viagra daily for nearly a year. For a while now, I've been feeling flushed in the face, with a ruddy complexion. My face has felt hot, prickly, and I've had a very stuffy nose, as if I'm allergic to something. Let's flash back to last April. In April last year I was prescribed fluoxetine, Prozac, due to an ongoing mental health situation, and it seemed to work for me. My mood was elevated, my temper suppressed, everything seemed to be going fine. Until, I began a new relationship, and everything seemed very good. The connection was immaculate, the vibes were good, the petting was heavy. However, I begun to notice that things weren't biologically rising in the way that they should. I initially chalked it up to being in my late 30s, and that these things might take some time. However, this problem persisted, and in July last year, I spoke with my general practitioner, who provided me with a prescription for sildenafil, Viagra for the layman. 100 milligrams of which, I should take. My sex life was enviable, I begun to feel energy like I haven't felt since my teens, and my general motivation and drive seemed at an all-time high. Until the third or fourth week, that is. A colleague said to me, "Hey, looks like you've been laid out in the sun too long." "Don't think so." I responded, hurrying off to consult a mirror, to see that my visage was bright, blotchy red. I chalked it up to sunburn, or an allergic reaction. For nearly a whole year. Trying different creams, lotions and antihistamines to try and quell the redness. All the while experiencing tremendous tumescence, not to brag, or anything. I finally booked in with a different GP, with hopes of seeing a dermatologist, to curb the red-faced woes. "You've been collecting a prescription for sildenafil every month for a year," he says, upon looking at my file. "Yeah." I question. "You must have a big backstock by now." The doctor says. "Are you flirting with me, doc?" I reply. "Surely you aren't in need of them every day," the doctor responds, and then it all became clear. These aren't a daily medication at all. They're to be used as and when required. For those who don't know, sildenafil, Viagra, causes one's blood vessels to open more readily, causing more plentiful erections, but also, flushing, sinus stuffiness, higher heart rate and a multitude of other symptoms which could be attributed to other things. TLDR, I took Viagra for nearly a year because I thought it was a daily drug, not something you should take when you need it, and I ended up with a red face, both literally and metaphorically. Edit. Thank you to those who pointed out that I misspelled sildenafil. I clearly didn't even read the packet enough to get the word correct. Thank you to those who thought this could be AI-generated bollocks. I assure you, it is not. Lastly, and finally, thank you to those who called me an idiot. I couldn't agree more. But this is a learning experience, and I now know to always read the label of things that I am prescribed. Stories number 39. Can my boyfriend get custody of my daughter when I die? Hi. So this is a throwaway account because I haven't told anyone yet and I don't want them to find out yet. I, 44F, was diagnosed with terminal pancreatic cancer 2 weeks ago. The oncologist has given me about 6 to 9 months. I'm naturally terrified, but the worst part is that I have no idea what is going to happen with my 13-year-old daughter. Her father has been out of her life since she was 1 year old. He's never paid child support or tried to visit, but we've done fine without him. I put myself through college and got a really good job where I make enough to comfortably support my daughter and I. 6 years ago, I started dating someone at the company I work for. He has a child from a previous relationship and his ex-wife has custody, but he sees the child regularly. Over the years, he has stepped into the father figure role for my daughter. We have gone on vacations as a family with both kids. We rent a house together in the suburbs. He comes to my daughter's basketball games and cheers her on. He takes her on roller coasters at the amusement park. She plans on having him teach her how to drive in a few years because she says I'm a bad driver. He has provided way more financial support over the years to her than her sperm donor ever did. That brings me to the topic of my post. I want my daughter to go to my boyfriend when I die. I know that courts will prefer bio parents, but her dad hasn't been in her life and he doesn't deserve to have her. My boyfriend is great with her, knows her friends and their parents, knows what she does and doesn't like, her favorite foods. I don't have time left to marry him and have him adopt her since the law wants you to wait 1 year after marriage for adoption. I'm open to us having a quick marriage. We have been talking about getting married for about a year now, so it wouldn't be out of the blue. I also have a $500,000 life insurance policy that my daughter is the sole benefactor of, so I know she is set. I also trust my boyfriend to do the right thing with that policy, whereas her sperm donor is a drug addict and alcoholic and would likely blow through it. I also don't have much in the way of family. My dad left my mom when she was pregnant and he said he doesn't want to take care of another kid and my mom is very toxic and emotionally abusive. I have no siblings and most of my extended family are drunks or addicts, so slim pickings. I guess my question is, given my circumstances, what is the best way to approach this? I want to make sure this happens the right way so that there is minimal disruption to my daughter's life and I don't want to cause more hurt than necessary. Stories number 40. Grandma used outlet mall bags to shame me in front of the whole family. This story left 2 therapists speechless, so now I'm bringing it to Reddit for your own entertainment. It happened about 14 years ago, and yes, I'm still unpacking it. Picture this, my grandma looked and acted like a cartoon villain. Think Cinderella's stepmother in a faded power suit. I'm not even exaggerating. Once, a babysitter asked if Disney had modeled a character after her. She was obsessed with appearances, status, and tearing people down, especially if they worked in the service industry. Constructive criticism? Never heard of it. Her specialty was destruction. In our extended family, gender roles were gospel. Women were supposed to stay pretty forever, and men just had to work. I happened to be a teenager with the kind of looks that were in at the time, which drove my grandma nuts. Why? Because her usual jabs about my weight, hair, or appearance didn't faze me anymore. I'd just shrug and throw back a snarky comment. She hated that she couldn't control me, but she found a loophole: my clothes. My family got hit hard by the recession, and at 16, my parents sat me down and asked me to cover all my own expenses, except food, housing, and healthcare. So yeah, I couldn't keep up with fashion trends, and that became my soft spot. Enter grandma's big event. I was 18 years old and preparing to go to college. She invited the whole extended family, about 30 people, from toddlers to folks in their 50s, for a gathering at her house. She hyped up a special surprise for the older girl cousins and refused to reveal it until everyone was there. Once we were all gathered in the living room, she lined up the four of us cousins, with me at the very end. She gave a little speech about how excited she was for an upcoming family wedding and how she couldn't wait for the family photo. Then she dramatically unveiled several large Coach and BCBG shopping bags. One by one, she handed out Coach clutches, shoes, and BCBG gowns to my three girl cousins and sister, who were in the same range of 18 to 23 age range. She told them to go try on their outfits and show everyone. Then it was my turn. She smiled and said, "And for you, I got a special graduation gift." She picked up the empty shopping bags from the floor and handed them to me. "I didn't get you just one purse. I got you multiple bags." "Yep. Just the empty bags." I stood there in silence, trying not to cry. I smiled. I took the bags home. And for some reason, I cut them up and used them to decorate my sentimental box, you know, the one where you keep old concert tickets and yearbooks. I finally threw it out last year and replaced it with a plastic bin. Growth. What really gets me, and I say this sarcastically, is that she thought she could buy my loyalty with outlet mall leftovers. I know they were from the outlet because the bags literally said Coach Outlet and BCBG Outlet. Like, come on grandma, if you're going to bribe me, at least make it worth my while. 3 seasons old purses? Really? It seems a little stingy in my opinion. Anyway, that's the story. Don't worry, I've been in therapy for years, and realize how toxic my family is. I'm happily married and have new, functional, chosen family, living in a state no one wants to visit. I'm no contact with the whole family except for a few siblings and my parents. Thanks for reading.